can't find me. You may never wanna find me again. 'Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that, guys. For a second there, I heard the audio double back, and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot to turn off the audio on my other end. So I had two audios going in at once. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It is Tuesday night, and it is episode 21 of the Barroom Podcast. I'm glad you guys are back to join us for another week. I know it looks a little light this week compared to, like, all the other weeks, but we've had almost 10 people on, and right now it's just me, myself, and Rob and C.S. Johnson. But, yeah, I guess times is hard. You know, the recession is hitting, so we couldn't really afford to have everybody on the show this week, so now it's just going to be just us. So, Rob, my fellow co-host, how does it feel that you're going to have to carry this entire show by yourself this week?
Oh, it's fine. I'm doing better than John Fetterman is currently, so yeah, it is what it is. I'm okay with it. I'm not a complainer.
Yeah, well, at least you don't have brain damage, so it can always be worse. So.
Right.
And then also joining us, our favorite anime girl, Miss C.S. Johnson, is here with us tonight. How you doing?
Hey, everybody. How are you? Good.
Hey, you're just like a cute little anime girl avatar now, so we'll just focus that on your face for the remainder of the show. Yeah, so it's a weird week because like going into this, like last night when I was looking for like topics, it felt like it was kind of like a light week, like not a lot had happened. So I was like, okay, well, these would be we're going to discuss here. And then I think in the course of the last like 4 or 5 hours, so much stuff has happened that I had to like go back and kind of like scroll through our list and be like, okay, I guess we're just not going to talk about this week because this is far more important and way more engaging as a story. So we'll focus on a couple of issues that just got added to our doc in the last couple of hours. One that I know you're really going to like because it involves your boy James Cameron. But before we get started, let's go ahead and shout out all of our guys in the chat here tonight. We got Spencer's joining us once again, the very impatient Spencer. Yeah, get on those articles over there at Bounding. We have Duke Nukem is here joining us, saying that Marvel loves releasing stinkers, don't they? Yes, we will talk about Ant-Man 3, one of Rob's favorite movies. Spencer here says that Ant-Man is basically a big budget talkie with Paul Rudd, and it's his only IP that I'm still interested in. We'll get into that in a little bit. We'll have that discussion later on. Yes, C.S. Johnson is here. Our boy Neo is also here as well. I don't know, maybe he ran everybody away. And then, yeah, we got Duke Nukem, feather to an anime girl. We got Orange Hat in the chat who's joining us here tonight as well. Then I know Cassie is still doing a stream, so I'm not sure, she may or may not join us. And then I know Rick is going to be joining us later on, but like I say, he gets here a little late, so he'll be here in a few minutes. So for now, it's just us, and let's go ahead and start this off hot and talk about our first topic today. This broke a few hours ago, and there's a lot of, I guess, polarizing discussion about this one. It's James Gunn is taking control of the DCEU. So the news broke earlier today that James Gunn and Peter Safran is going to be leading DC Studios for Warner Brothers Discovery. So the whole story here, we all know with the Discovery Warner Brothers merger earlier this year, that they've been looking for someone to take over the role of these DC comic book movies, the DC, I think, kind of like the DC property in general at this point. And they're looking for someone to be their Kevin Feige, right? They want someone to lead Warner Brothers like Kevin Feige leaves Disney. They haven't been able to find it. They thought they had their guy. That guy backed out, so they've been really struggling to find someone. And it looks like James Gunn is now going to be the lead here. So if we can go down here to this article. Like I said, Gunn and Safran have been tapped as co-chairmen and co-CEOs of DC Studios, a newly created production entity that will oversee DC properties for Warner Bros. Discovery. The notice here says that we're honored that to be the stewards of these DC characters that we've loved since we are children. Gunn and Safran both said. He said, we look forward to collaborating with most of the talented writers, directors, actors in the world in an integrated, multi-layered universe that still allows for individual expression of the artist involved. Our commitment to Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Harley Quinn, and the rest of the DC staple characters is only equal to our commitment to the wonder of human possibilities these characters represent. We're excited to invigorate the theatrical experience around the world as some of our, as I said, as we tell some of our biggest, most beautiful and grandest stories ever told. We are especially enthusiastic about all we're doing with Mike, Pam, Cassie, Channing, and the whole Warner Bros. Discovery team. We are grateful to David David Zaslav, whose bold vision for the future of this franchise we share allows us this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Most of all, we can't wait to bring you all into the story of the DCU. So they're going to be overseeing the film division, the television division, the animation division. They're going to assume their new roles starting in November. So coming up at the end of this week, they'll be reporting directly to David Zaslav, who is the CEO and president of Warner Brothers Discovery. And yeah, essentially, they're going to be the new guys in charge for everything DC. Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this, because when I heard the news, and I got to be completely honest with you here, I'm not the biggest fan of James Gunn. Now, if you go on Letterboxd, I recently did an update on my best and worst Marvel films of all time. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is my third best MCU film ever. Like, that's where I rank it. Like, I really, really like that movie. The Volume 2, however, I did not like that one at all. That's one of my bottom ones on there. And if you notice the difference between 1 and 2, what was the big difference? Was because the first movie was only co-written by James Gunn, while the second movie was completely James Gunn having control of the entire property by himself. And I think that had more to do with the quality drop than a lot of other things. Obviously, we just saw the Suicide Squad movie that came out. It was like a year ago, somewhere around that time, somewhere in the last few months. I thought that movie was decent. I didn't think it was great. I thought there was characters in the film that were really good. I really liked John Cena's character. I liked Idris Elba's character. Harley Quinn is pretty much hit and miss for me. There were some funny moments to it. Then there was also a lot of overbearing comedic moments in the film as well. Now, I won't sit here and say that James Gunn is anywhere as bad as David Cohen, but I do see a lot of similarities kind of in their comedic style and what they bring to film, especially superhero films and that nature. So I'm really kind of mixed on this whole news. I'm not very excited for it. The idea that James Gunn's basically going to be in charge of everything, and then everything's going to turn into Guardians of the Galaxy or Scooby-Doo or Pacemaker and things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one to you, Rob, hearing the news for the first time here. What do you think about James Gunn taking over for DC Comics? Is this a wise move? Are you even a fan of James Gunn, or do you think this is going to be more of the same?
I'm not a fan of James Gunn. I've actually had a few Twitter spats with him in the past. One was over Martin Scorsese when he came out and was kind of like, Marvel movies or theme park rides. And he just kind of idiotically compared it to The Last Temptation of Christ, which I just like, how dumb are you? The other one was like him crying over the fact that Spielberg's liked Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever. And that was his childhood hero or something. And it was like, okay, your favorite artist in the medium you work in professionally is Steven Spielberg, which is okay. I'm, whatever, no personal judgments aside. I just I don't understand that, in terms of someone being a passionate artist. Because Spielberg was very commercial. And hey, guess what? James Gunn is about to become very Spielbergian in this new role. He's going to be more of a producer. He's going to be overseeing projects. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because they're looking for that stabilizing force that Kevin Feige was more than that. He really put Marvel on the map where Disney bought them. You know what I mean? So I think that's what they're looking for. So I don't think it's the end of the world, because I don't think he's not the only creative voice in the room, and it's more of a general producer hat he's wearing. But no, I'm not a fan of him and his work as a writer-director. He has too much of a childlike sensibility, which doesn't mean that he can't make entertaining films. He totally can. But it's definitely not going to be my bag. It's not something I'm looking forward to.
Johnson, what is kind of your thoughts on this one? I do have a point to something you just said there, but I'm going to hold that for a second. Johnson, what do you think of James Gunn taking over DC? Are you a fan of his work? I know you've had to have seen the Scooby-Doo movies back in the day. Have you seen anything recent of his that will make you excited for this, or you have the opposite reaction?
Well, I just think it's kind of appropriate because they didn't, kill off the Flash. It's like, hey, look, one train wreck to another.
Yeah.
I don't know if consistency is a virtue in this case or not, but I guess we'll see. I do think he's probably one of the better directors, but also one of the worst human beings. So it's kind of like, I don't. Yeah. I will say, I think that you can do the you can separate the author from his work to some extent. but I don't think you can completely do it at the same time either. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
so for those referring to what she's talking about here, we all remember the whole story with James Gunn about what 5 years ago now, where a whole bunch of his old tweets got dug up, and he was making a whole bunch of sexual jokes that were involving kids, a lot of suspect things that people like started labeling him like a pedophile and things of that nature for. Disney initially dropped him, but of course the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy pretty much went at bat for him for years, trying to get him to come back. Disney eventually rehired him, I think like a year later, and got him to. I think they got him to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'm not sure if he wrote that one. 'Cause I remember they had went with someone else's script. I have to check to make sure on that one. But I know they eventually brought him back, and then he worked on a couple of DC projects, in between there as well. So you can say that he got temporarily canceled, but I mean, he never technically really left. I mean, his properties are still pretty much intact. Maybe they got pushed back a little bit because Guardians of the Galaxy 3 probably would have came out a couple years earlier if it wasn't for that whole situation. But it still has all his fingerprints left in it right now too. So the fact that they brought him back, and then of course, if you go on his Twitter account, he's one of the guys that have been all about the Trump supporters are Nazis and blah blah blah. He's been that whole spew in the last few years as well. So people don't like him because of that alone, on top of the whole situation. So bringing him into the fold to be like, okay, he's the guy that's going to be overseeing Superman and Batman and Harley Quinn and Aquaman and Flash and all these other things. It's like, is this really the guy who I want to be in control of essentially the second biggest comic book property going right now that's not Marvel? And then you're talking about a guy who has Marvel influence. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out next year. You saw the trailer for the whole Christmas thing that's coming out on Disney Plus. They got a Christmas special coming out, which just looks absolutely atrocious. I haven't even got time to talk about that right now. But yeah, so I mean, is he really going to improve things? He's going to do a great job, or is he essentially going to try to Marvelify DC at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope not, because I think, and I said this last night during the Black Adam review, is like, the thing I like about DC is their willingness to I'll put it this way, to have stakes, even if they fail, even if they swing real hard and miss. Look, I know a lot of people don't like Zack Snyder's vision, but what I love about it is his commitment to what he believes in. And again, you can say it's messy and incoherent even at times. I mean, Justice League, did it really need to be 4 hours long? I mean, the Jared Leto Joker scene was just kind of put in there. But I still mostly enjoyed that, more than I can say, talking about James Gunn in the Marvel universe. I prefer that kind of commitment. Even if it's flawed and messed. So hope James Gunn's willing at least to take some creative chances. I hope that he's not interested in alienating his audience. But again, it's just going to be wait and see at this point.
Yeah, I still think this kind of sounds like a really bad joke, because it's it's like a pedophile, a spouse abuser, and a cultist walk into a bar, and Harvey Weinstein says, "Welcome back."
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll get to him later on in the show too. We got a story about him as well. But let's invite our first straggler on to the show, and it's our good buddy Cole Cage, who is joining us a little bit late. How you doing, Cassie?
Good. Call of Duty is making me want to jump off a cliff, but other than that, I'm great.
Yeah, I've seen people
really bad. So
Yeah, I've seen people playing that one online so far. I haven't really got the time to invest in like watching the videos for it, but I mean, we'll figure it out when we cross that bridge. Real quick, since you just joined us here, we were talking about James Gunn is essentially going to be the new Kevin Feige for DC and Warner Brothers. He's going to oversee all of the Supermans and Batmans and Aquamans and all that good stuff. What is your thoughts hearing that James Gunn is going to get the keys to the castle here and control all of the DC heroes moving forward? Does that make you excited, or did you just roll your eyes because you're not very excited?
I mean, so biased side is that I just want comic books to die, like the comic book films in general. So that's my biased take. But in terms of trying to be objective, he's a pretty creative guy. I think that he could bring something interesting to the table. Maybe in some instances, a lot of people liked Suicide Squad 2. I watched it like halfway and said I just don't give a fuck. But that's just
Yeah.
me. But I think that that's not necessarily the worst choice ever. It's I don't really think it's a bad idea. At least they have somebody. I don't know, because I mean, like Zack Snyder, I thought was a good idea, but they just needed some people to kind of properly flesh out his ideas and for WB to lay off more so actual creatives and not executives being kind of helping him out with what he had going.
Yeah.
Maybe this is like a second attempt to hopefully do this right with the new leadership and whatnot. I mean, objectively speaking, it could be interesting.
So real quick to clear up a little bit of the confusion here, when James Gunn was initially quote unquote canceled for that 1 year he sat out, they initially said that he wasn't going to direct the film, but they were going to use his script. So they were looking for another director, couldn't find one because the cast didn't want to work with another director. So they brought him back. So now for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which comes out next year, he will be the writer and director of that film, and that's supposedly going to be his last Marvel project before he moves over to DC full time. So. Just clear that whole thing up.
Well, I mean
he made out. Sorry, I was just going to say he made out. He got paid for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He got paid for the Suicide Squad movie. And he's going to get paid for Volume 3. So he really didn't lose anything by so-called being canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically like a 1 year suspension. Yeah.
It's not being canceled in comparison to, how people that are not leftist retards get, canceled. But I mean,
yeah.
I think it's a good time to get out of the MCU. The MCU is it reached its peak. It's not going to hit the peak that they had with the last two Avengers films. So I think it's a smart move on his part to just do this last film and then fuck off. Because I mean, whether it's successful or not, DC is trying to relaunch their universe. Maybe there's something there, or maybe it'll implode. Have to wait and see.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out with these next two projects with Black Panther, then of course Ant-Man 3, which we'll talk about here for a second. So it's like, my final thoughts about this whole thing is like, I'm kind of just over comic book movies like at this point, because it's like the idea of, we're going to announce a really cool comic book movie that's going to come out in 4 years. You guys are going to watch it. It's like, look, by the time we get to 4 years from now, I'll be like 2 years away from 40. Like it's not exactly my time to get excited about comic books movies anymore. I think I've pretty much passed that point in my life. So the only thing I can just hope for is that we will at least get quality films. And like I said, I can only go off of the last movie that I saw with James Gunn was that Suicide Squad 2. It was marginally better than the first one. I didn't hate the first one as much as a lot of people did, but it was only about on par with that one. I only liked the characters in the second one better than the first one. But the whole running joke with like the dude's mom was just annoying as shit to me. There was a whole lot of character questions that I had regarding that movie that just didn't make any sense, but it made sense in the realm of James Gunn's directing the movie. And it's like, if he's gonna be smart enough to, I guess, let other guys like take the reins of these projects, like he said in the thing that, hey, look, we're gonna let people get creative, expression that you don't get at Marvel, because Marvel, you're basically like a traffic guard, like you're just there to tell people like what to do, and then if you try to get creative in any way, shape, or form, we'll dump you and find somebody else, right? Like, that's what happened with the last Doctor Strange movie. So hopefully he'll go more in that direction, which is just more like hands off, like you guys do what you want to do. If he does that, then fine. I think maybe they'll have a pretty solid future here, but they got a lot of issues to deal with internally, so this is definitely a wait and see type of situation here. So
I guess they've given us something to talk about for the next 4 years till the next movie comes out.
Yeah. And then just real quick, like I said, I talked about this just a second ago. The whole Christmas thing that they're doing, the Christmas special on Disney Plus, where I think it's just going to be Dave Bautista, and I don't know the chick's name, the Asian girl. I wouldn't even care to look it up right now. That looks absolutely horrible. If your running joke for your whole thing is that Kevin Bacon is in the movie playing himself, like, I'm done. Like, it's not even. I'm not even going to watch it out of curiosity. It's just like, I don't know how you guys keep doing this to yourself.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I don't know even how to fucking say it, but leftists don't like Christmas. thinking of Jesus Christ makes them want to implode their brain cells.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're pretending to not hate Christmas, like, go fuck yourselves, you fake motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like
They like the commercial aspect of Christmas. They don't like any of the religious aspect of Christmas whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't need to see Christmas from these fucking frauds.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily religious by any means, but for me, Christmas is family time, and they don't believe in family, so fuck them for that.
They believe in like families of convenience. Yeah.
And marriages of convenience and relationships of convenience. That's the whole thing for them out there. Real quick question for Neil before we move on to our next topic. Should DC continue the route of the cinematic universe? Should they experiment with a non-cinematic universe films like Joker and Batman? Essentially, should they do a shared universe, or should they just do a series of one-off films that aren't connected with one another?
One-offs. Because
I think the one-offs would be better too.
Yes, because like this whole cinematic universe thing, it just ends up becoming what after credit scene are we gonna see? That's all they care about. All these people, they watch the She-Hulk bullshit just to see what's gonna happen in like the future, and it's just like, why aren't you assessing what you're being given now? Because it's filler, and at some point these movies that have this shared universe, there's going to end up being filler films or filler TV shows, and fuck all that. I just want the best movie you could possibly make right now. I can at least go back to the X-Men films and watch the original ones, because I actually enjoyed them. I thought they were pretty well done films that have a beginning and an ending for each one. These movies, they don't really feel like they have a beginning and an ending. It's always missing something. Just go back to just making one good film at a time.
Well said. I wish Rick was here, because Rick loves to bury the MCU whenever he possibly can. But we're going to move on to our next topic here, which is Ant-Man 3, Rob's favorite movie of all time, because it actually exists. Ant-Man 3 officially released this trailer earlier today. Well, this was early today, right? This wasn't this is yesterday. I got the days confused. But they officially released their trailer for Ant-Man 3. Now, this had leaked a few weeks back, where they had showed some footage for D23, which is kind of like their Disney version of Comic-Con that they did a little while ago. So some of the footage had leaked. So the whole reveal of Kang being the big leader of the big villain of the MCU moving forward got spoiled when that broke out. There was also some other things about Paul Rudd's character, Ant-Man, and his daughter that got released, some storyline details, which we won't talk about here just in case you guys are actually looking forward to this movie. But Marvel Studios released this trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is the third installment of the Ant-Man series. This movie comes out in February, so we actually don't have to wait too long for this one. And it shows Paul Rudd returning as Ant-Man, and Jonathan Majors, who's going to be playing Kang the Conqueror, who's going to be the next big Avengers villain. So the movie that's supposed to come out in like 3 years from now, when they're going to do the Avengers team up, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the new Thanos, essentially. So look forward to that one if you can. We also have Hank Pym, Michael Douglas is back. Michelle Pfeiffer is back. Scott Lane's daughter is played by Catherine Newton. A lot of other people in this one. This whole thing is about like the God, it just slipped my mind when I said it. It's like the quantum realm, or it's one of those things. I know Spencer can figure it out in the chat, but essentially they go to a new universe that you have to get very, very small in order to access, and this is going to be the introduction into this villain in this series. So this is going to be your official introduction into Phase 5 of the MCU with this film right here. So Wakanda Forever in a few weeks. That's going to be the end of Phase 4. We move on to Phase 5. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the clips here in a second. Let's kind of just get into the discussion here. Are you guys excited about anything you're going to see here in Marvel Phase 5 with Ant-Man, or are you guys just kind of tapped?
I got nothing. I mean, this is just more MCU garbage, and you know what? And I talked about this before on a previous show, where like the origin story of Hank Pym, the like original one, the Michael Douglas apparently is, you know, like that was interesting, like because it dealt with like severe domestic violence issues and whatever. Again, I know I go way too dark for ultimately who the audience is here, but I don't care. Like it's like you're introducing a big villain, which I'm assuming is not going to be defeated at the end of this movie. You know, it's just going to continue into more spin-offs and more content for Marvel and for Disney. So, I mean, you know, good for them. I'm sure it'll make money, and I'm sure that, you know, people will go see it. But like, I have no interest in it, you know, and I've completely tapped out of that market. I mean, I'm biased because at least there's a childhood love for Batman that I still hold on to. So it's like, yeah, I'll still go and kind of hope that it's great, but I'm a 33-year-old man. Even Batman at this point is kind of lame, you know? So
yeah,
I'm done. I'm good.
In one of my books, I actually have a line. I feel bad for saying this, but Batman was the rich man who was too cheap for therapy. Yep. So,
yep.
So wanted all the expensive gadgets to take his revenge on the city. Everything could have been solved if he just got a good therapist. So
but that's why I like him, because he's a sociopath who just refuses to deal with that. And he's like, I'm going to fix this city, and he never does because it's so corrupt and it's just this, you know, vicious circle. So
yeah. Oh well, I guess like for me, like when I saw this trailer, I was just disappointed because all the women are ugly, and
God
I'm
damn,
sorry.
Michelle Pfeiffer
Ouch.
looks like she aged 20 years. Is this on purpose?
yeah.
I kind of
But
wondered
they-
if it was on purpose.
I feel like it probably was. There's no way.
How old is Michelle
that-
Pfeiffer now? I gotta check this out.
think, so.
She looks a lot
Well,
older
64.
than she did in the
64.
last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like,
So she's actually 1 year older than Jamie Lee Curtis.
Okay, well,
Damn,
Jamie
wow,
Lee
that's
Curtis
crazy.
shouldn't look better than Michelle Pfeiffer.
Wait, Jamie Lee Curtis is not in her 70s?
No, I think she's only like
Okay.
63.
Okay.
Yeah, she's only like a year older than my dad, and they were both born on the same day, which is hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, Spencer. Well, you stick to that.
You know, when you're the only sober person at a drunk party, okay, of course you sound insane. You know? So yes, the women in this don't look pretty. I don't like what they did with Evangeline Lilly's hair. A
lot of people. I showed the trailer to earlier. It spoke out about that, just to say they didn't have very nice things to say about the way Evangeline Lilly looked in the film. Might be able to find a screenshot here. Oh, by the way, Bill Murray's in the movie while he's in the middle of currently being canceled by Hollywood right now. So that should be a fun one when they promote the film in a couple of weeks.
Well, I feel like on some level this is like there's some kind of war going on between WB and Marvel stuff anyway, because it's like all the Black Adam reviews were like, this movie sucks by all the Marvel shows.
To be fair, I feel as though critics have always been a little bit hard on DC movies. Even the ones that were like okay-ish, they kind of just shit all over for whatever reason.
I swear
Well,
Disney bought off the critics. Like, I don't know when it was, but it like every Marvel movie was like 80, 90, 100%. And I'm like, what is going on? And then you find out they get these little perks, and it's just like, okay, whatever, dude.
Yes, there's a lot of like award buying stuff that goes on too. There's a YouTube channel, Friendly Space Ninja, that talked about Emily in Paris and like the reason that it got all those awards, even though it was completely cringe as a show. And I was like, oh, okay, well, okay.
we'll get to that point later on, because I do have a point I want to make with that, with the whole bros thing, and it perfectly shows how biased those movie critics can be when they have a film here that's about ideology. But real quick, before we go any further, let's get in our residential Marvel hater, our good friend Mr. Rick Aragon. How you doing here?
What's up, bro?
I'm doing great, but I'm not a Marvel hater.
Yeah, you are. Isn't that why our mutual friend blocked you years ago, because you don't like the Disney stuff?
Oh, well. No, I didn't. I don't hate all the Marvel movies. I just don't think that I need to keep up with the world's longest and most expensive soap opera. That's a difference.
What if it was the longest telenovela?
Well, no, because there's not enough slapping and like like bed hopping to really match a novela here.
Yeah. They had that with what was it? What was it? Something in America. The girl who was in the America Chavez
America
from
Chavez,
the
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, they didn't even bother to play any of that up. So this is Jonathan Majors here. He's going to be playing Kang, so he's going to be your next Thanos level villain for the next 3 to 4 years. So I noticed on social media there's been like a lot of hype about him in this movie. Like people are going saying, "Oh, the Avengers are fucked now," and I'm just kind of like, didn't we do this with Thanos like 3-4 years ago? Like, I mean, I understand like there has to be some kind of progression here, but doesn't it feel like to me, maybe it's just me talking here, that with Thanos this whole thing should have just ended like almost as like a storybook. We got to the end, the big bad is gone, so we can just all go home now. But it's like, no, we still have a multi-billion-dollar property here, and we're gonna keep this going until we're not longer a multi-billion-dollar property. So here's Kang, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts of Kang here, Rick? Matter of fact, since you just joined us, what is your thoughts on Ant-Man 3 Quantumanium? Is this something that you look forward to watching here in the next few weeks, I mean,
Uh,
few months?
First, I keep thinking Quadrophenia, so I keep confusing it with the Who's album. That shows how much I know about it. Um, no, I'm not enthusiastic. I mean, I actually like the first Ant Man, and I can't even remember the second one at all. Um, no, I'm not enthusiastic because again, I'm not invested enough to follow all of these stories and who's who and who's what and who did something 5 movies ago. I'm going to go because someone's going to obviously explain to me what's going on. But no, I can't muster any. I have not mastered any enthusiasm for any of these movies. I guess ever since Thor: The Dark World, because I just
That was like almost a decade ago.
exactly. I'm just puzzled as to all these people who again spend days watching all of these movies, and I say I really want to ask him, how old are you? I mean, seriously, how old are you? I mean, have you not grown up? I'm assuming you probably have procreated by now. You have children who are in maybe
Sadly.
middle school, and you're still getting and you still cry when imaginary beings don't really die because they knew they were coming back, and that's an issue that I had with what is it Infinity War.
I openly mocked people who cried when Spider-Man died because it's like, you guys all know he's coming back. Like they already
Exactly.
announced the movie's already done. It's coming out next year. You all know he's coming back. Why are you crying?
Exactly. All of these people are like, why?
It's like
Why?
not only did they know he was coming back, they were literally filming the next Spider-Man movie while that scene happened. So it's like you guys don't not think at all.
No, because they start believing that these people are real. So, no, I'll go. I'll watch it, but I have no enthusiasm. I really don't care for these live action cartoons,
Yeah.
and I
That's
can't.
offensive to the cartoons. At least the cartoons
Right.
were good. The sad thing is, I can actually rewatch a lot of the older cartoons, and they actually have more
Well,
depthful storylines than the garbage they feed us now.
didn't you
Yeah.
get excited when they played the X-Men cartoon theme when Patrick Stewart came out in whatever movie that was? What
Pretty
was it?
sure I
Oh,
missed that movie.
the Multiverse of Madness. That was the one. They
Oh,
played when he was wheeled
no.
out. I heard the X-Men cartoon theme, and I'm going,
Oh yeah. You're right. They did do
this is
that.
yeah, this is such a bad callback because I'm not even sure any of these people here even saw the cartoon. I remember the cartoon,
No, the
but
cartoon is fantastic. The cartoon
yes,
is like
Yes.
one of the great '90s superhero
mhm,
comic book cartoons.
With
but
far
they're
more
not.
depthful writing and actually like respecting their child demographic, that cartoon, whereas there is no respect for the user base of the MCU. They treat you like you're fucking stupid, and they don't even try and hide it.
And well, a lot of these people, I don't want to say that they are stupid, but a lot of them behave in really childish ways,
Uh-oh.
crying and cheering, all of these things. I think I might go to the midnight screening or the early screenings for Quantum Mania, only to gauge the reactions because I don't think I've ever really experienced all
Well,
of these people having all of these emotional, you know,
Well,
feelings.
you guys have seen the videos on YouTube where they do like the Avengers like opening night theater reactions, and you have all of these people who all sound like they're in their 30s and 40s. By the way, these aren't like little kids, but they're all up there here like cheering because oh my god, it's Captain America and he's on screen. It's like yeah, this is what his eighth movie so far. It's not like why are we still here? Like this is the first time we've ever seen it. Like the dude, it's like I don't know. I watch it and I kind of just like kind of people gaze and I think to myself, this is why we're just absolutely screwed as a society right now. It's because this whole room of people, and then of course they get offended when Martin Scorsese said this is a theme park ride. Well, you guys are acting like you're at a
I think
theme
that's
park
too
right
nice. I think that's too nice. I mean, the thing is, look, a lot of this shit that they're putting out now is filler. They have no idea what to do before their next big thing. So
Yep.
they're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. The only way you even try to, I guess, eclipse what you did with Thanos as a villain is, and actually make it different, is if Avengers end up against X-Men. And I don't think that they have the writing capability to be able to make that work. They have no idea what the fuck that they're doing. I think the She-Hulk writers, they said they weren't even competent enough to write a proper courtroom drama because this is how mentally deficient
Deficient.
these people are. Yeah, they're
What
literally
is it,
mentally
infantile?
deficient, sadly.
They
And
could,
there's no way that they could do that. And to be honest with you, if they want in any way to even bring the stakes up nearly as high as with Thanos, they have to include Dark Phoenix. And are we really going to sit here through another probably failure Dark Phoenix saga film?
Yeah, I mean we've already
over
done
it.
it twice.
I can't
Well,
fucking bear it anymore.
well, I'm sure we'll be sitting through. Was it the third effort to get the Fantastic Four? Though
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how successful they'll be because when John Krasinski came out as was it Mr. Fantastic, the audience was laughing before he even said anything. So I don't know what that says about his future as part of the Fantastic Four. And I say this as someone who does unironically enjoy, or was it the Silver Surfer? I actually
Yeah.
did like that one.
I was talking to somebody with this. It wasn't with this group. It was with a separate group, and we were talking about the issue with Kang because obviously Kang is another race swap with the MCU, and apparently there's been some talks behind the scenes about people loved Jonathan Krasinski as Reed Richards in the last Doctor Strange movie, so they want to bring him back and cast him as Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie, which they still don't have a cast for, even though they've already announced the movie's coming out in like 3 or 4 years. So that should tell you something about the MCU. And then we were talking about this, and I guess the argument that they were making is that apparently the people inside of Disney do not want to cast him as Reed Richards because essentially, I know people who are more in depth with the comic books can explain this one to me. Is that apparently Kang is supposed to be like some kind of descendant of Reed Richards from like some other universe, whether it's the future or the past. There's supposed to be some lineage there, right? And obviously, you just cast Kang to be a black guy. So the idea is that well, if Kang is going to be black, then we need Reed Richards to be black when we recast Fantastic Four in the future. Now this is internally with Disney. You keep all this in mind. So now they're at a point where, like I said, they still haven't found a cast for this movie, but they may have written themselves into a corner where if they have to cast Reed Richards to be black, then they would also have to cast Sue Storm to be black as well because she's supposed to have a brother who's also in the Fantastic. So you may realistically get an all black Fantastic Four here, people. I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility. They've already done it before. They've at least tried to do it before with the last Fantastic Four movie. So you can see that one coming soon here. And matter of fact,
So
on top of that one,
Fantastic Four.
exactly, and not only that, but you're also they've been talking about repeatedly doing a black X-Men cast because they wanted to do like Professor X and Magneto as black men who grew up during like the civil rights era instead of World War II and all that stuff. I mean, I'm just telling you the ideas that have been thrown out there about the direction of the MCU. So do not be surprised if these things come to fruition in the next year.
We've already had that, or because in the first Fantastic Four, you had Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, and then in the revived Fantastic Four, you did have a black Johnny Storm, although they explained that by they were adopted or something like that. The answer is easy. Just have John Krasinski as keep him as Reed Richards, and just say that he's been passing for white for all these years, and but say he's actually black, and there's your problem solved.
I feel like the Descendant, like that gives him plenty of time to have like a black wife or a black. I mean, like I don't understand the like.
Well, here's the problem, because I know for a fact if they cast Reed Richards to be black and his wife is white, they're gonna immediately lose like 52% of black Twitter right off the bat, and it's mostly the black women because they're gonna be fucking infuriated by that shit. So that's probably not the direction that they want to go just based on that alone. So yeah, they're gonna have some issues there.
I'm just waiting for Earth to fall off its rotation and just sink right into the fucking sun. Get it? I think it's time, guys.
If it does, it'll be white people's fault, Cassie.
We have hit our plateau as a society. Like this is we're now sinking. It's time to go, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Neil hasn't.
Sorry,
go ahead. No, go ahead real quick.
No,
I
I
can
was
ask this question.
just going to say the saddest thing about these stories is that they're so shallow. You're crying over like these movies or whatever, and it's like there's nothing to attach yourself to. So I don't understand what drives these people to the theater and what they identify with, because they're so shallow and their references are so dumb. I'm not sure how there's a lasting impact.
Neil has a question that you guys can tackle here. It says, do you think the MCU has the same problem as the comics, where they have no ending and just continue where you get a bunch of filler, compared to manga where you have a beginning and an end? Yeah, I'll let you answer this one. Yeah.
All right, so this is what I have to say about this as a writer and a creator and stuff. There are definitely stories where it's like, okay, but this one's probably not as good as the last one. But like right now and in general, like with the internet culture and everything, content is king. Okay, but what I say is content might be the king, but quality is the queen, and we need more happy marriages with with this sort of stuff. And so like even if it's, and I guess Hollywood doesn't believe in marriage very much, so
no.
So you do kind of see the rot starting to sink in, especially if you're just looking at content and output and stuff. Like, output is the more output you have, typically the quality will decrease. There's very, very few people that can have a massive amount of output and maintain quality, and I just happen to be one of them.
I mean, the problem with like comic books isn't even the fact that they continue. It's just that some of the dumbest human beings now make them and think that they're better than everyone else. So that's really the problem, unfortunately. MCU I think that they do struggle with the fact that they do have to account for the next thing, and by doing that, what they're concentrating on right now is left lackluster, unfinished, and unsatisfying.
You've got an endless amount of continuity that you start out with when you start trying to build a franchise that has spanned already 20 some odd films. So
actually, Black Panther will be film number 30, just in case you're counting.
Okay, and that's not even counting the Disney Plus the Disney Plus shows.
Yep.
Which one of the reasons I have no enthusiasm for a lot of the Phase 4, Phase 5 MCU is because I'm supposed to watch all of these Disney shows, and I don't feel I need to watch all of these shows and have such an endless encyclopedic background about all of these characters and all of these story threads, because I just do not have the interest. I don't have the time to invest in all of this. But when you have so much that you're building on from the past 5, 10 movies that were maybe a decade ago, it is really asking a lot to demand that people keep up with everything. Like when there was that Spider-Man No Way Home or Far From Home, and Jake Gyllenhaal was going on about, oh well, yes, you got screwed over by Tony Stark, and I'm like, who is this character? I don't remember him. How am I supposed to remember some random person from 7 movies ago, 10 years ago? Why should I think it's a waste of my time.
As we've said before here, it's gotten so big, the writers and the directors of these projects aren't even watching previous movies to get any kind of continuity. Like, David Cohen fucked up continuity in his own goddamn movie that came out like 5 years earlier. So it's like, how could you expect the fans to keep up with all this crap?
Oh
Well,
no, I'm
that's
sure
not.
they can. I'm sure they can.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
that's
sad
not
thing.
specific to Marvel either. I mean, like, look at all the stuff that Star Trek people are doing,
Yeah.
and look at
Or
Doctor
Star
Who.
Wars.
The thing is with comic book fans, and Chris Claremont was notorious for this, where he'd plant an idea and like basically fucking 30 issues later harp back to that like little concept that happened. But like the difference between MCU watchers and comic book fans is that like comic book people that would tune in, to get the latest Claremont issue were like really in depth into comic books, whereas the MCU just appeals to normies don't keep up with this shit. They don't really care that much. It's more so they want to pretend to care that much because that's their entire personality. So they'll buy the latest merch and pretend they're super fans, but really these are some of the dumbest human beings that don't care about this kind of shit really in the grand scheme of things. Whereas like old school comic fans, like they would look for those little things and they would be fascinated by good writers that were able to continue storylines and then include like hark back to things that happened like a year ago. Like it truly, it's like an art form in comic books, whereas in film we don't really look for that, and the people that would look for that in film, they don't engage in normie bullshit anyway. If anything, they're sick of it.
I will say this: the big difference between cinema and what I would call geek culture, so like video games, comic books, anime, even going to literature, being a literature geek and being really the amount of information that culture absorbs and can remember, and I'm envious of it because I do that with movies and with like NFL football and stuff. But like the amount of information some of these fan bases can lock away and remember and hold on to, and therefore appreciate what they like even more, is great. It's a wonderful thing. I don't know that it's compatible with cinema. You know what I mean? I think cinema is its own sort of art form that works in a different way, in a different capacity, where it's about aesthetic, it's about the visual. It's not just information. And I think that the MCU has really reached a limit now with just inundating ourselves with information, but it's the most basic, banal level, so it's accessible to the masses.
Yeah, I know. Just as a literature nerd, I will talk off all that because, like, I think when you have things like cinema, like Martin Scorsese cinema, it's a high form of art because you have all the elements coming together and working in tandem to create something that's a masterpiece. It's just like a painting, like a masterpiece. Okay, and then like with literature, I feel the same way. Like a lot of my books have if you read them, they're a little bit different than probably market-based stuff. Like when you look, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I like to add in, and there's more literary aspects to it. I've had people complain that stuff's not clear, and it's like, oh yeah, because I didn't spell it out for you. And that's my being mean to people who don't get my work. Sorry. But like in this case, we have high cinema, we have movies, and we have like comic book movies. And some of the ones like Cassie was saying, they're marketing it to the normies and stuff. you have to be very broad with your themes and your characterizations a lot of the time to draw the normies in and to get them excited. And I just think with the world building being so complex, it's harder to do that the further that you get in, and building on all these little things along the way. And I think like at this point, it is bad writing on top of poor world building, poor continuity. We've seen the reports saying that the visual effects artists are being pretty much, henpecked to death, and deadlines are tight, and just there's a lot more slip ups that are clearly obvious in some of the, and like the marketing, and the marketing's all mean, and there's not a lot of goodwill left, and
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, as long as people keep consuming this at a satisfiable rate, then you're just going to keep getting this. So until we get to a period here, and to be fair, the DC movies, the Marvel movies that we have seen so far this year have been slowly going down, which is why a lot of people are looking at this Black Panther movie, because if Black Panther does massive numbers for Marvel, they'll kind of give them the idea. It's like, okay, we're back. Let's just go full forward with these superhero movies. But if it doesn't do well, if it does do something, if it does worse than Thor, which came out a few months ago, then they're going to start having to ask themselves, are people finally getting tired of this? Are people finally had enough of, how long has this thing been going on? Since 2008? Are we gotten enough of like 15 years of just continuous superhero movies? Hopefully we've gotten to that point. We don't know yet. We'll have to see in a couple of weeks with Black Panther. So,
well, actually, I have to wait like 3 weeks because I'm forbidden to see it because I'm not black. I can't see
oh
it.
yeah, you're right. Because like white supremacy or something like that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that person still has their bank account though, so don't worry about that.
Did you guys see the TikTok video of that like black chick kind of being like, "Hey, white people, stay home"?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly who I'm talking about.
That's what we were referring to.
I'm like, it's a Disney product, you dumb bitch. Like, stop being such a simpleton.
Do these people not understand that fucking Wakanda is a fictional country created by two Jewish guys in like the 1960s? Like, does that not register like in their mind at all?
No.
When you have black lawmakers that literally make the Wakanda Forever sign as though it's real life. I mean, this is where we are. This is why we are doomed to fall off our course and go straight into the fucking sun. It's time, bros. It's time.
Well, the vice president said that she wishes that we were more like Wakanda, which
CNN.
Made me ask, so you want to be an absolute monarchy where men are the only ones who can inherit the throne? There's no parliament, and you shut off the borders to anyone? That's the country that you want there? Okay, fine.
No, it's great because all the women are queer and they have spears. So it's a great functioning society that they have over there in Wakanda. Look, let's stop burying the Marvel Cinematic Universe here for a couple of minutes. Let's bury Billy Eichner instead, because his movie is not doing well at all.
Wait, he already buried himself. I already saw that you could buy that stupid fucking movie on like the Google Play Store on my Android TV. I'm just like, damn, didn't this movie come out like a week ago? What an abysmal failure piece of shit.
That's what happens when your movie bombs at the box office. So if you guys don't remember the story here, Billy Eichner spent like the last couple of months telling everyone to go see his gay rom-com because it was the first gay rom-com in the 100-year history of cinema, according to him, and nobody but him. And then his movie came out and no one went to go see it. So then he proceeded to spend the next few weeks lashing out on people on social media because they were too homophobic to go watch his movie. So as of right now, the numbers for this film, it's been out almost a month now. It's almost a month to the day this film was released. It's made $11.5 million in 1 month, which is still half of his production budget of $22 million. So they thought by giving this movie $22 million that they were going to be lowballing it as far as their success. They still haven't made half their production budget. Well, it gets even worse for Billy Eichner because there was another rom-com that came out this week that absolutely smashed his film, and it's starting to get embarrassing just how bad his movie has done. So some of you guys may or may not have known about this film. It's a film called Ticket to Paradise. It's the romantic comedy with George Clooney and Julia Roberts. The whole idea of the movie is that they have a college graduate daughter who's getting married to someone who they only met like a month ago. So they're going all the way out to Bali in order to prevent them from getting married. That's essentially the concept of the film. And the idea is that while they're trying to break up their daughter's marriage, that they kind of like rekindle their own romance as well. So I saw it. I say this one, it's not bad. It's not a bad film. It's not a great film, but it's not bad. I think for people who like traditional rom-coms where there's not like several minutes of gay orgies in the film, you guys will probably like that one far more than you would like Bros. So if rom-coms is your thing, go watch this one. And apparently other people went to go watch this film instead. Let me go ahead and get the numbers here just to give you a gaze of just how much of this movie made, because there's a bigger story here. This movie, during its release, made $18 million. So in 1 week in the United States and Canada alone, it's made more money than Billy Eichner's movie has made in 4 weeks in the same time. Also keep in mind is that this movie released overseas earlier than it did here in the United States. So this movie has already made $100 million worldwide as well. So if you combine this movie with the other romantic comedy movie, which is I know is Rick's favorite movie, Marry Me, with Jennifer Lopez, this is the third romantic comedy that Universal Pictures has released this year. And given the box office results of this one and the box office results of Marry Me, that makes Billy Eichner's movie by far the lowest drawing romantic comedy that Universal has released this year, and it's not even close. Like his movie is getting crapped on so hard by pretty much everyone you could possibly think of. It's getting embarrassing. And of course, if you look at his recent Twitter feed, he's still trying everything that he can to promote this movie. Then Cassie said it, that they're promoting that, hey, you get to watch it on, I think it's like digital or streaming or something like that. It's only been out a month, people. Like that's how bad this movie is doing, that they're really trying to get that money back, and it's not going to happen for him. And yeah, it's a downward spiral. Now, I am working for an article where I'm bounding into this one. Hopefully I can get this one set tomorrow that goes into a lot more detail here. But obviously when Billy Eichner's film bombed, his whole thing was that, well, it's straight audiences who didn't go see my movie, so they're to blame for its failure. Well, maybe he does have a point, because straight audiences do not want to go see gay rom-coms with all kinds of degenerate shit in there for 2+ hours with a completely unlikable protagonist played by Billy Eichner in the film, right? But here's a traditional rom-com, which something that I noticed about the film, you can go take your family to go watch this film. Like Johnson can go take her kids to go see this movie. You don't have to worry about having to explain any questionable shit to their kids during the course of watching this film. And it's enjoyable, and you probably walk out of the theater with a smile. This is the type of movie that people actually want to go see. And you'll see that, hey, this one made $100 million so far globally. It crushed in the box office domestically here in the United States. That should be warning, or maybe an answer that yes, people would rather see movies like this, movies that may be a bit corny, a bit or maybe a bit outdated. You can say this is probably like an early 2000 film, but they would rather go see that than your gay rom-com. I hate to break this to you, Billy, but them's the facts. As Rasheed Wallace once say, ball don't lie, and the numbers don't lie either. So Rob, what do you think of Billy Eichner's movie just struggling on all facets right here?
Well, it's kind of amazing what happens when you don't alienate your audience. I think that's a big lesson here, because it's like people want. Hey, obviously, there's a market and an audience for romantic comedies. I've always hated romantic comedies because I just because of their cookie cutter nature. But you know, they're people want to see them. There's date nights. There's all like there's this consistent market that has existed for them, like horror movies. Has for the last 50 years. People like going to see certain stories play themselves out in familiar ways at the movies, and not throwing gay orgies at your audience. It's like, yeah, give the people a movie, give them some entertainment, give them a pair of charismatic actors who they care about. And not Billy Eichner, and you can make some money. But it's just Billy Eichner has always gotten on my nerves. He's always rubbed me the wrong way. I've probably said too much, so, but yes.
Yeah. Hey, anyone else? Rick, you saw the movie with your gay friend who bailed on you because even
Yes.
he didn't want to go see this movie. What was kind of your thoughts on
and
it?
it was a brunch, so there would have been food included in all this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's interesting. Bill, I think I have always believed that Billy Eichner took the failure of Bros exceptional as a personal rejection. Like the people were rejecting him. This was his dream project, and this was his way to not come out because he's always been out, but to kind of announce
yeah.
himself to the world, and the world was going to embrace him, was going to embrace the gay world. I mean, those are admirable goals, but no, people didn't. He did as much as he may say that this was a rom com, but with two men. I don't think he got the point of these romantic comedies. These romantic comedies are going to appeal primarily to women. Men, straight or gay, are probably not going to be the target audience, and it didn't have a lot of the elements of a real rom com, because a lot of times he kind of got sidetracked with his LGBTQ plus museum, and
Yeah.
lecturing the mom, and it also didn't have any big stars. He's not a big star. There's no way, even in his own
Let me
mind.
correct you just real quick. It's not that he's not a big star. He's not a star.
Star,
Period.
exactly. I had never heard of him. I mean, I'd heard of Billy on the Street, but I've never seen it until this movie, and I saw some of the things that they did, and I'd be quite frightened if this man came up to me and threw a microphone and started asking me these random questions. Then I saw another one where he's harassing this poor woman who has no idea what he's talking about, like Emma Stone, La La Land. It was like, no, I don't go to movies. I have to feed my kids.
Yeah.
There's just such a narcissism to this man. And then Rob pointed out that he was on Parks and Rec, so I looked him up and I saw the best of him. I'm going, this is terrible. How is this man remotely funny? How does he have a career? So he took the failure of Bros as a rejection of him. That is my own armchair psychology examination of this individual. But no, he's not likable. The character's not likable. There, and whatever the flaws of Ticket to Paradise, or maybe Marry Me, which I just accepted it as kind of mindless, and basically,
It's my number 5 worst movie of the year. But keep going.
yeah, and just to let you know, there's another one where J Lo is in a wedding dress. I mean, she's made a career out of being in movies where she's going to get married. You
And she has
notice that?
another one coming out next year too. Just throw that out there as
Yeah,
well.
exactly. So no, Billy Eichner, he needs to follow the advice of one of the great gay anthems and let it go, just let it go. All
Yeah.
right, you know, start somewhere else. Try to do a more dramatic part, or try to be less obnoxious to people who don't like your movie or don't want to see your movie, because if gay men didn't want to see this movie, all right, your own community did not rush out to see this movie, and they are not homophobic. So just let it go. Accept that your dream project was not embraced by the people, and move on to something else. But you keep harping on this, you're only going to make it worse, because people are going to see you as this bitter, angry man, and you're feeding all the stereotypes of these bitter, angry. Uh,
He's a sore loser. It's a
yeah.
sore loser. One of the things I
Take the L. Take the L. You
Right.
bitter queen.
is like is learning how
Yeah,
to
I mean,
lose.
what are you going to do? I mean, you're going to run up to people who said, "Oh, I didn't like your movie," and you're going to like go bitch slap them? I mean, just get over it. Just
Yeah.
snap out of it. Take it from Cher. Snap out of it.
And to answer a point from Spencer from earlier, I didn't say that Bros was a movie you take your kids to. I said Tickets to Paradise is a movie that you take your kids to. That's why it made more money than Bros. So that was the point I was making.
Well, I'm sure a lot of
your kids. You just take your kids to Bros because they'll obviously learn about.
I mean, there are children in the movie Bros, so I mean, you say it's not a movie for kids. They sure got a lot of kids in that movie that they can't watch.
I wonder how
smart parents don't take their kids to the movie anymore.
Yeah,
you're not wrong there. I mean, to be honest with you, look, man, I honestly didn't know who Billy Eichner was until he had his little Twitter rant making himself out to be a fucking asshole. So, here's a quote from one of the greatest heterosexuals of all time. Quite frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn about your bullshit. Stop either make good movies or be more likable. He can't do either of those, so you're a fucking loser and just accept it. And anything that he ever is attached to, I will never visit it. And it's not because he's gay, it's just because he's a piece of shit.
Or as I would like to say, simply put, get wrecked, you fucking scrub. Go ahead, Johnson.
Okay, so like one of the things that so I didn't watch this movie, and I'll probably never watch this movie, but one of the shows that I did see with kind of a similar situation, I guess, in the whole like coming out story of redemption, I don't know, was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt with
oh yeah, I remember that one for a while.
With Emmy,
the girl from The Office. Yeah, the redhead.
Yeah.
The redhead.
Yeah, and there's like this episode where Titus's boyfriend has to go and like confess to his Catholic family that he's gay, and like Titus goes with him, and he like prepares this whole speech, and he has this whole song ready because he's on the dance band.
Yeah,
and like the family's like, oh, well, that's okay, and Titus is like pissed because
they're not freaking out about it.
Yeah. And I have to say that seems more realistic to me than
there's been a few stories like that where it's like you build up this whole moment of, I'm going to come out to my parents or my friends, and then you tell them it's like, yeah, we knew. Like it's not a surprise. Right. They're like, what do you mean you knew? They just get rationally upset. Like that's actually funny and clever, but they don't want to write stuff like that anymore.
It's also very humbling for the character to experience it. And I don't think there's any real moments of self-reflection or self-awareness in Billy Eichner or in his movie. Maybe I don't know. I did read your review, and I saw that he said something about being exposed to like film with gay stuff in it when he was 12, and I'm like,
yeah,
you should never really use yourself as an example for turning out well when you're talking about things like this, because even though you survive something, it doesn't mean that you're better off.
I mean, the idea to look in a mirror as a 43-year-old single gay man and think to yourself that, well, I turned out fine. It's like, did you, Billy? Did you really turn out fine? Are you the shining example of excellence? I don't think so.
I mean, if you turn out really well and you're very well adjusted, like I have a couple of gay friends like that, and it's like even if you're very well adjusted from any past trauma and stuff, it's still like you never. I mean, you kind of wonder how things would be different without that kind of, I guess, catalysm or, catalyst.
Yeah.
No.
Has anyone pulled out the ageism card on this fucking guy? Because not for nothing, who wants to, people constantly bring the age thing. So I'm going to pull that with Billy Eichner. Who the fuck wants to see this old hag kissing a young man? Fuck out of here, bro. Okay, I'm gonna take the feminism route. Chicks always get dogged on. I dog on chicks for being too fucking old. I wanted to dog on Billy Eichner for being too fucking old. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he's basically a woman anyway, so.
Pretty much, right?
Difference?
No, he's not. No. Okay.
What's the age difference between Billy Eichner and Luke McFarlane? I mean, this is not a daddy twink situation here.
But you know what I got? By the way, you know what I got from? And I don't know the age difference. If I had to guess, it would be something like 15 years. Because I think, like, if I had to guess, I'd say Luke McFarlane's in his late 20s. But Here, like, you know what's funny? One of my favorite podcasts is done by a gay man named Brett Easton Ellis. I brought him up a few times. He reviewed Bros, and he found it utterly repulsive. And he said, if the movie was about Luke McFarlane, I would have been interested. I would have wanted to see that movie. But instead, Billy Eichner is so unbelievably untalented, uninteresting, and has nothing going for him, even as a character, playing himself. There's no reason to root for him or care about his character.
No.
Well, hold on a second. I'm about to.
I checked. There's a 2-year age difference between them.
Well, thanks. I was going to say that, then you fucking took the rug from under me. I had a much better setup, and then you ruined it. So thanks, Rick.
I love being wrong.
His co-star looks way younger. I guess in this case, Billy Eichner didn't age well. You're fucking old, retired. Get in your fucking wheelchair, bro.
Yeah, you're only 2 years. You're only 2 years older, and you look 10 years older.
Honestly, just mock and shame these people. Billy Eichner's a piece of shit. Go to your nursing home. Hopefully your nursing home is nice and they'll bring, the puppies and the kittens over for you to pet on the weekends. But nobody wants to see your old fucking ragged ass kissing other dudes, all right?
That was, that's actually true, because in the movie, he has to take a picture of his ass and I think maybe shave it. And I'm thinking to myself, is this what Grindr really is like? Because,
no, it's worse.
No, it's worse.
You tell, Jacob. You tell. But first off, I had to have a Grindr explained to me by my gay friend. He did explain what that was. I would be lost, and I was very confused. And again, I think Rob's pointed out that the Bros makes the gay community into this very promiscuous, empty life. Even Luke McFarlane's character, he was out there stooping a married couple, a man married to another man. So it doesn't exactly bode well for him, for the character that he played. It makes them very promiscuous. And again, I pointed this out. You have this movie where there's gay orgies, there's a gay adoption orgy, and there's not any talk about condoms or monogamy. I mean, these are people who have talked for years, decades about how the AIDS epidemic, and the AIDS epidemic really devastated, particularly the gay community or the gay men community, the gay male community. But here you have them acting like they're still in the early or mid 70s, pre-AIDS. That's irresponsible, and I'm honestly surprised that there are not any LGBTQ people condemning this kind of promiscuity. I don't know the gay men that I know who are this slutty and proud of it. I really don't. I'm just amazed at that. This is not. I don't think this is reflective of what would be gay life, unless it were like maybe West Hollywood or New York, places that most of us do not live in and probably do not want to live in.
Yeah, I would actually put a compilation of all of Cassie's rants together for like a 1 hour video, but that's way too much work for someone who's not getting monetized on YouTube yet. So that's going to come later on. We still have much.
That should be like your 1K subscription goal. Say it. Everybody subscribe, and then Jacob will get the Cassie rant compilation for us.
I don't mind. Do whatever you want. Bro. It's your fucking channel.
I would subscribe if you did the remix. We need the remix.
Nah.
Oh my god. That would be interesting to say the least.
Next.
Oh my god. No, I just got what he's gonna. No, we're not doing that at all. No, it's not gonna happen. Like, we already get annoyed enough when you say it the first time. I'm not gonna make an hour compilation of you making Gene Kelly jokes. So that's not gonna.
You have to do the reactions though to everybody, like
just a groan.
Yeah.
To it, yeah, man. Well,
for your channel, Rick.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, maybe if Jacob, if you live stream my High School Musical themed birthday party, that could get you money.
Go.
Yeah,
that's sus too. Let's just try not to talk about that. But from one piece of shit to another, let's talk about Sacheen Littlefeather, who lied about being Native American for so many years. So this story. So let's kind of back up here because there's a lot of layers to the story here. Sacheen Littlefeather, I believe is how.
Feather.
Yeah, how you pronounce her name. So if you don't know the story, a few weeks ago she passed away. Now she was famous for, if you remember, I think it was the 1972 Oscar speech, the Academy Award speech. She accepted on behalf of Marlon Brando and read a statement on behalf of like Native American people. It was like the big like social justice type speech of its time, and people have kind of made her like a folk hero for a number of years because she went out there and spoke out to what people deemed to be a racist Hollywood system back in the day. There was the whole thing about the accusations of John Wayne wanting to like fight her after the whole speech. The Clint Eastwood is shown like pretty much like burying her after the whole thing went out. So this is a big topic. People have been talking about this for like years, like decades. She just recently passed away a few weeks ago, and so the story was brought up again, and the clips have been shown all over the place. All of a sudden, a couple of days ago, her sisters came out to claim that she was never Native American in the first place. Like the whole thing was based on a lie. So here's the story here from the New York Post. It says that just weeks after her death, her sisters are revealing that the whole thing was a lie. So Trudy Orlandi and Rosalina Cruz claimed that Littlefeather, who famously refused Marlon Brando's Oscar in 1973, I was close, was an ethnic fraud. The two spoke out to the San Francisco Chronicle recently, claiming that Littlefeather did not come from a Native American background, but was actually of Mexican heritage. Orlandi said that this is a lie. My father was who he was. His family came from Mexico. My dad was born in Oxnard, which is a city in California. Littlefeather was actually born Marie Louise Cruz. It was initially believed that her father was Apache blood, which I guess she's now saying that that was not the case. This is a fraud, Cruz noted. It is disgusting to the heritage of tribal people, and it's just insulting to my parents. Littlefeather had also previously claimed that her father was abusive. However, her sisters refute this idea, claim that their grandfather was an abuser, and Littlefeather used him as part of her fabricated backstory. So let me see if I can get here. It says, my father was deaf. He had lost his hearing when he was 9 years old due to meningitis. I'm going to say if I'm butchering that. He said, yeah. He said that he was born into poverty. His father, George Cruz, was an alcoholic who was violent and used to beat him, and that he was passed to father homes and family. He said, but my sister took what happened to him and used that for her own story. He says that my father, George, was the alcoholic, that my dad never drank, he never smoked, and you know that she blasted him. She said that my father was mentally ill. My father was not mentally ill. She said that Littlefeather did not like herself. She didn't like being Mexican, so yes, it was better for her to play something else. Now, before I go any further here, like I said, this is a woman who just passed away a few weeks ago at the age of 75. She was battling breast cancer at the time. Now, this has obviously made a lot of people upset. I was with Culture Casino a few days ago, actually, and they talked about this in a little bit of detail. And one of our good friends, Paulie, the Latino Slant, talked about this, and he was upset from a different perspective. Now, there's a lot of people that are upset by this story, but they're coming at it from different perspectives here. Paulie was upset because he felt like that if the story was true, and keep in mind, this was from the San Francisco Chronicle who reported this, that if the story was true, that he was upset that this woman essentially lied about her Mexican heritage in order to claim Native American, because I guess she felt more comfortable being Native American in Hollywood than Hispanic, right? And by doing that, you kind of slighted, Hispanics who were also struggling to get ahead in Hollywood during those times as well. So he saw it as a personal slight from the Mexican side. And then Culture Casino was looking at it from the side of, this was a woman who, like I said, for many, many years was used as kind of I don't want to say propaganda head, but she was used as a figurehead for a lot of, those 60s, 70s type of social issues with, the left and progressivism and things of that nature. She was kind of like a figurehead of rebellion, of protest. And to find out that, all these years later that the whole thing was based off of a lie Giving the fact of everything that we've gone through, like running, like I said, John Wayne and all these other people into the ground based on her figure at the time, that also causes a lot of problems. So there's two different sides here where pretty much everyone who heard about this argument was pissed. Now there's people, and this is where it gets a little interesting, is that when the leftists heard about this, they decided to attack the source of this article. They went after the reporter who wrote this thing and started trying to discredit him by saying he didn't do his proper research by putting into this thing when he wrote the article, even though he's just taking the family side of the story. Now they're going after the family as well, the sisters. They're saying that the sisters are Trump supporters and that their word shouldn't be taken for truth and things of that nature. So they're trying to cope by essentially attacking the credibility of the people saying this. Now, at the end of the day, she's dead. So we don't really know what exactly the true story is, but I would say, well, if her sisters are Hispanic, which is provably Hispanic, then maybe it means she's probably Hispanic too. So maybe there is some truth here that maybe she used claiming to be Native American as to her own advantage. It's not like she's the first actress in Hollywood who's ever lied to get ahead in the business. I mean, this happens all the time, but obviously this is something that was a much bigger deal for its time. So there's a lot of back and forth here. I'm going to start with Rick here because maybe you guys know a little bit more about this than some of the younger people here, and that's not a shot at your age, it's a shot at your wisdom. What is kind of your thoughts of this story, especially as being our residential full Latino here? No, Cassie doesn't count, but you do. So what is kind of your thoughts on the story on all the angles here?
All raza here all the time, the waspiest Mexican in the world.
Yeah.
Well, look, she has in the past admitted that she's not completely native. I think when she died, they ran an interview with her on NPR where she talks about like one of her parents being white and the other parent being native.
Yeah.
So the idea that she was fully native, even she admitted that that was not the case. I was not aware of what the sisters had said. There have always been stories that she wasn't native. I, outside of an actual a DNA exam to see what, if any, percentage of native she had, there's no way of knowing for sure. Now, I've looked at the Oscar speech that she gave, and I thought it was, given the circumstance, quite eloquent and quite well spoken. Marlon Brando wanted to give like this 4 or 8 page rambling speech that that he knew would not go through. So I think we forget that if we have a quote villain in all of this, it's Marlon Brando. I mean, yes, she agreed to it, but he's the one who put her in the situation.
The
and
white
he
devil.
pretty much- yes, it's another case of the it was another case of the white man oppressing the native in this case, or the maybe not native.
Well,
And all the stories
Still a
about
man kissing a woman, though.
and you know and, and all these stories about John Wayne trying to rush the stage, and it took 6 men to hold him
Nonsense.
back. I mean, this is
Nonsense.
about a man in his 60s who was having
Cancer.
he was fighting. I think he was fighting cancer, and he might have had a lung removed, or
Yes.
was
Keep in mind,
Yeah.
people
Being
truly do
crushed
believe
in
that happened. Like I've seen people use that
do.
argument like very recently that they believe that he
Yeah.
really wanted to go out there and fight this woman, even
But
though there's no fingerprints that
no,
ever
in fact,
happened.
there's proof to the contrary. There was a TCM documentary about the Academy Awards, and you saw footage of him because he was asked at the Oscars that very night what his response what he would say, and he said, I'm not gonna answer, I'm not gonna get into it. This is one night of the year where we as the industry get to present ourselves to the public, and if you want to talk to someone, go get Brando. Go talk to Brando. And I think he did at the Dick Cavett show. He did speak at length
Yeah.
about this. But whether she was native or not native, we don't know. Outside of a DNA exam, and I think she's been pretty much made the scapegoat. We need to remember all of this was because Brando wanted to make a stand, and whether she
Yeah.
wittingly or unwittingly joined in this, I lean more into it's a mix. She willingly went up to give the speech, but I don't think that maybe she expected the ferocity that she got. What, but I think the best comment was made by Richard Roper of all people, who wrote in one of his books what the plight of Native Americans has to do with him playing a gangster, has never been answered, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But always focus that this is really on Marlon Brando. But
Well,
And that's
Marlon,
just
yeah.
real quick before I get to Rob. That's actually a pretty fair point because you can also make the argument that look, when she initially gave that speech, what was it, like 50 years ago almost now? Like, who knew that she didn't go out there thinking that she was going to be a folk hero for an entire movement for like the next 50 years moving forward, right? So you can argue that it never intended to be as big as it was given at that time, but it just snowballed into something that was. But yeah, go back to your point, Rob.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Marlon Brando had a reputation of being a prankster. He absolutely loved being the guy with the shit eating grin in the middle of the, like, making everybody's day trouble, basically. And so, like,
Yeah.
I respect him as an actor. I think he's a great actor. But he absolutely liked being that guy in the room and having fun. And I think this whole thing was a giant prank. Did he genuinely believe in the plight of the Native American and how they were sort of looked at throughout Hollywood's history? Yeah, sure. But it's to say that, like, he was doing the moral, earnestly believed thing, I think is going a little bit too far. I'll also say this: there are such things as Mexican Native Americans. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's, which I know sounds like an oxymoron, but there are native tribes of Mexico, that share customs or what have you. So that's a possibility too. But there does sound like there's some contention between whether they were just Mexicans, where that descendancy comes from. But I think the story about John Wayne rushing the stage is hilarious because, yeah, if you know anything about him, he was going through cancer treatment. He had like a lung removed. I mean, there's all these things. There was like he couldn't physically do that even if he wanted to.
It was his rage that gave him superhuman strength to run
It's
up
an
on that
adrenaline
stage. Yeah.
I mean,
Johnson.
if it took 6 dudes to hold back a fucking guy with a size 8 shoe and 1 lung, y'all are fucking losers.
Who was in the 60s?
Yeah, in the 60s. Well, it's like 70s, actually. It was 73, but yeah, it's still.
Can you even lift you 6 other individuals?
Yeah, I guess Planet Fitness didn't exist back then. So, Johnson, any thoughts on this one before we go on to the next topic here?
It's not the first time that someone from Hollywood has lied about their heritage or changed their name to hide their heritage.
Yeah.
Or make things just easier for people. I think Natalie Portman is a good example of this. Like, her real name is like something weird, but I know she's like Portman is very safe.
She's Israeli. I think she's actually Israeli.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
even though she denounces the country now.
Well, of course. But so it's not the first time this has happened. As far as like it getting taken to like greater heights than it could have been.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, what's the damage? How are you going to fix this? I mean, basically, the best thing you probably could do is memory hole her. So,
yep.
I mean, you're really offended.
I would say that I don't think the Academy needed to apologize to her. The Academy, as far as I know, never did anything specifically towards her. They let her speak. She gave a remarkably eloquent speech. And there were audience members who were booing, but there were also audience members who were applauding her. So it wasn't something coordinated by the Academy. And as whether she's Mexican or Hispanic or what have you, we're still, I think the people are still debating whether Rita Hayworth counts because she was Spanish descent.
Puerto Rican.
Margarita Cancino, that was her actual name.
Yep.
And so they were saying, is she Hispanic? Is she not Hispanic? I mean, she was a beautiful woman and a wonderful actress who suffered greatly through Alzheimer's. So we don't know. Again, do a DNA exam on Sacheen Littlefeather and settle it if you really wanted to settle it.
Hey, it's true. I mean, I would love to know the facts because I don't really know what to think. I don't know what the fuck she is. Can we get like confirmation here? It's hard to have like for me to take a stance on this because I just want to know the facts. But I will say this about Marlon Brando. I love Marlon Brando, but he was a self-obsessed prick. Like he was the guy that James Dean was obsessed with, and he would just play games with James Dean all the time. Like basically he would literally treat James Dean like a little puppy dog all the time because he was a self-obsessed prick. And I will say he was also extremely obsessed with social political politics back in the day from the civil rights movement. And I think that in a way he did want to do a good thing in terms of like during those times it being terrible. But I feel as though it was to say that, oh, I was the guy that helped make a difference. Like, cause that's just the type of guy that he was. In some instances, I do like Marlon Brando, like his rejection of Hollywood later in his career. He just didn't give a fuck about anyone. And he made it known on every set he was on. While he was absolutely insufferable, I think it's, as a natural anarchist, watching it and hearing about that, I love it.
Yeah, he had the cue cards, and what he took like $10 million to do Superman. So he really did not care about his reputation.
He also made some comments late in his career that Kanye West made recently, and all I'm gonna say is, Norm Macdonald has a good joke about that. But I'm gonna not say anything else.
The worst part is their hypocrisy. All right, then. Well, let's move on from one piece of shit in Hollywood to another piece of shit in Hollywood. Let's talk about Harvey Weinstein. So we've made a lot of jokes about Oscar season as far as this whole thing is coming up about how all these like ideological movies are going to get these nominations that they don't deserve whatsoever. It is what it is now. They've bitched about the Hollywood being too white and not diverse enough for so many years that they're finally going to get what they want. Subpar movies getting awarded. But there's one movie that is now in talks of getting Oscar buzz, which I really have to call out here. This is the film. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about this. This is the film She Said. This is the upcoming film that's coming out that's going to be about the journalist who exposed the Harvey Weinstein scandal, right? So here's Variety. They're making the argument of the case of this article that She Said is worthy of Best Picture in the upcoming award season. And that really got me thinking just from that headline alone. I'll get to this in a second here, but just from the headline alone, are you telling me that Hollywood, who knowingly knew all about Harvey Weinstein for decades and enabled him and protected him and silenced people in favor of him for years and years and years, are going to give an Academy Award to a movie that is that they're saying that, oh my God, these journalists did a great job of exposing the Harvey Weinstein. You're the ones who caused the Harvey Weinstein scandal. Are you... Okay, I gotta read this before I just lose my fucking mind here. So yeah, Harvey Weinstein was a monster. He was a sexual predator who used his position of power in Hollywood to harass and assault dozens of women. And you guys knew this for fucking decades. Like, there's stories about actors going at it with Harvey Weinstein going all the way back to the 1990s. So you guys knew about this for many, many years and then covered it up. And then when you got exposed, oh my God, me too, everyone. So She Said is about the female journalist who broke the Harvey Weinstein story and exposed it. There's even a point here that I wanted to make, that the organization itself that exposed this story was guilty of multiple times suppressing any kind of news related to the story. Like, they knew about the Weinstein for years, just like everybody else. And when they tried to report it, the editors of the news organization killed it, mostly on his behalf, killed the story. And now they're trying to portray them as like, oh, these guys were the heroes the entire time. It's like, they're not like they were the heroes. It's like, you guys finally got caught and you couldn't cover it up anymore. That's essentially what really happened here with this story. But here you have a film that's coming out now. I haven't seen the movie yet. I might see it before the year is up, but have not seen this movie yet. It's not out yet. It's going to come out later this year because they want those Oscar votes. But they're talking about Oscar voters and industry voters, many of them who once socialized and respected the kind of intelligent-made drama and informative films that Weinstein released at Miramax. So literally the films that he produced, they're talking about getting an award for him now. Maybe uncomfortable with having to stare in the mirror and watch She Said. So they're trying to frame this as if She Said is some kind of empowering movie because it's forcing Hollywood to be like, see, this is what you guys did. Now, are you guys going to award us for the movie that we're shining a light on you on? Now, is there enough guilt in Hollywood that they'll actually try to pull this off to try to turn the whole Me Too situation on its axis by saying that, see, things have changed now. We're awarding a movie that exposed Harvey Weinstein. Everything's fine now, when that's clearly not the case, as we've talked about over the weeks with people like Olivia Wilde, who was a close friend with Harvey Weinstein, and things are still going on to this day. But the rest of the argument here is, like I said, they're making a case for, the director, who's also a woman, Carey Mulligan, and Zoe Sacon, who is also in the film. So they really want to give a push to this film for best Oscar, best picture when it comes to Golden Globes, SAGs, Academy Awards. This may happen. Like I said, we just know how Hollywood is. But what is your thoughts on Hollywood essentially trying to award itself for making a movie about Harvey Weinstein and then giving it a whole bunch of awards to kind of like shower themselves from the guilt of decades of concealment? I'll start with Rob here. Do you think this is a great idea?
Well, look, this is the third movie in a series of movies. It's the same thing. You had Spotlight, and it keeps getting worse, by the way. So you had Spotlight, you had Bombshell, and now you have She Said. And they're all bad movies, but they keep getting perpetually worse. And okay, this is why the Oscars were created in the 1920s, because Hollywood needed to create a public image to say, hey, we are upstanding people and we care about movies that are, about important issues. And we need to have this positive PR spin on who we are. And so, because they got bad press for being hedonistic and debaucherous, and this party sin-filled town that LA was gaining a reputation as. So the Academy Award made them, hopefully to the public, look really good. And this is just complete nonsense, because the issue they're talking about that these reporters exposed is the very system they've held up for the last 80 to 100 years. And I love Hollywood, okay? In terms of the product, in terms of the great art that's come out of that town, I love it. But I have to be honest about how incredibly corrupt it is and how much it's been a factory for exploitation for a really long time.
And just a little quick note here before I let you guys continue here. I want people to realize that the whole reason why this story broke was because in 2016, the New York Times was actually trying to expose Trump. They were looking for people that they can expose Donald Trump in 2016. This is right after the old grabbing by the pussy thing that they pretended like was so offensive to them at the time. So they were looking for women to come out against Trump during the whole election cycle, and they asked him to just stumble on accident on the Harvey Weinstein stuff. And it took them almost a year into investigating that for them to actually finally report the stuff, which led to him being exposed later on as well. So they try to make it seem like that they were trying to help these abused, victimized women. It's like, no, you were trying to get somebody else, and then one of your own got caught in friendly fire. So keep that in mind.
Even the cast of this movie, like Carey Mulligan, I actually really liked her as an actress up until the last couple of years when she was in was it, Promising Young Woman, and now she's in this piece of crap, and it's just like, dude, she's a really good actress. I don't know what the hell she's doing. And then Zoe Kazan is the granddaughter of Elia Kazan, one of the greatest Hollywood directors of all time, and it's like she's in some piece of shit like Me Too movie. So I get it. it's Hollywood trying to virtue signal and say, hey, this is an important story, which means the movie sucks, by the way. It's always, by the way, if you have to say it's important, the movie sucks, because the movie should speak for itself.
Well, I would take a couple of issues with Rob, although I agreed with some of the things he said. The Academy was founded in part as a counter to the unions that were being created: the Screen Actors Guild, the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild. So it was a way to have like a de facto union with the studios controlling them. And a lot of them eventually rebelled, and then they shifted away from unions to being more about the Academy Awards themselves and awarding quality films, quote unquote. And I actually did like Spotlight, but Bombshell was really made just to trash Roger, was it Roger Ailes and the Fox Network. I've yet to see any movie that will do the same about Matt Lauer. Is because he was also involved in this, and
Yeah,
there was
they're gonna race swap him to be a white guy. That's what they're gonna do.
but with this and one more point, I thought was it Ronan Farrow was also involved in exposing Harvey Weinstein. So I don't know how they're going to make it exclusively women who are exposing it, but no, you don't get a pass. I don't think you should get a pass because the variety people, they knew they held this, and there have been stories about Weinstein for years,
Yeah.
decades, but a lot of the people who are now saying, oh, time's up, and they wore black to the Golden Globes as a form of protest, they all knew or they suspected as much. So now we have this movie that's kind of a congratulatory celebration of how courageous they are. It's always the same thing about how courageous they are, and when they face up, when they face something that they themselves were hiding. That's probably the worst part of this. I have not seen the movie. I might see the movie when it comes out, or if they send me a screener or a link, I will review it. I think there was another one that touched on something like this. I think it was called The Assistant,
Oh yeah, it was
which I did. Yes.
terrible.
Well, no, I kind of I kind of liked it. I hated Promising Young Woman. I put that as one of my worst films of the year because it was so over the top, and I thought this woman needs therapy more than she needs to be. She was not an avenging
Here's the
angel.
thing.
She was a creepy.
Promising young woman was almost a good movie, and when I say almost, it's that they almost came to like kind of like a moment of like self-reflection towards like the very last act, and then it's like they almost realized where they were going with the movie and decided they had to run away from the realization and go back to the message of men bad women, because it's like you were almost there, you almost exposed the fact that this woman was a
And,
complete dirtbag.
and you have to remember, it did win Best Original Screenplay. It did receive several nominations, and Carey Mulligan was close to winning Best Actress. I mean, they that was a really competitive race that year, with Frances McDormand pulling out the surprise win. It was a surprise because nobody predicted her, because he had just won not that long ago for what for I don't know
Three
what
billboards.
Yeah.
so which one?
Three billboards outside
For three
Ebbing,
billboards,
Missouri.
yes. So
Yeah.
they did not expect her to win, and Carey
And that
Mulligan
was
was
the,
well overdue.
that was the birth of the whole inclusion rider initiative that we're now suffering through today. So yeah.
Mhm. So yes, it would not surprise me if if this movie Sight Unseen did end up being nominated. I don't know if it'll win because we'd have to see who the other nominees are. But again, I would not be surprised if Bros were nominated for Best Original Screenplay
No
because
way.
it
No.
because it's transformative, and it's the first gay rom com, and we need to make a statement. So yes, she said probably could get nominated. Anything's possible, but them trying to portray themselves as heroic for coming late to the party after hiding and doing everything to protect this man who was a bully pre Me Too. It's disingenuous, and it's not going to it should not be celebrated to the extent that they want to celebrate it.
Well, it's not only that, but it's like imagine a scenario where you have a room full of celebrities, and they announce Best Picture, and it's this film, and then the creator, the director, had to sit there and give a speech about what a terrible man Harvey Weinstein was, and a room full of people who either covered up Harvey Weinstein's crime, was literally a part of his little sex ring, or guys who have sit there who probably thanked Harvey Weinstein in multiple speeches for awards that they've won themselves over the course of the last 20 years, and now we have to like sit here and all stand and clap for this moment because hey, we got him, guys, and it's movies like this that give truth to power and all the other nonsense that they're gonna come up with for that 3.5 hour award show that no one's gonna watch. And I did want to make this point just real quick because I actually forgot to mention this beforehand. We're talking about bros earlier. I just want to show you how the media treats things when there's a political slant to it. Tickets to Paradise, which is a straight up like romantic comedy movie. That movie only got 56% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. 56%. While Bros, Certified Fresh, 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. So according to Rotten Tomatoes, Bros is up there with some of the greatest films to have been ever made at 88%.
Well, remember Black Panther? Remember like the Black Panther getting nominated for Best Picture? I still will be like, you guys know that's bullshit, right? Like that there's it's completely like pure tokenism that they're just like, we have to celebrate it because it's the black superhero movie and it made all this money. By the way, that's the secret to Hollywood pictures. Usually they are big money makers as well.
And what ended up winning? Green Book.
Yeah, and then they complained when Green Book won. So
when it comes to leftist maniacs rewriting history, I mean, clearly that's what they're trying to do, and they're using their essentially their piece of entertainment to do it. And like I said, mock and shame these people as much as you can. I think it's absolutely abysmal. Hollywood is a cesspool of fucking kid diddling pieces of shit. Every time I look at these people, I want to fucking vomit. And the fact that they think that them presenting an award at an award show that nobody wants to tune in for anymore, these fucking rich mummies out there actually think that they're still fucking important to regular people, while also shitting on us on the normal, because they actually do think that they're better than us, because they actually think that just because they have wealth and social power to whatever extent, they think that their shit doesn't stink. I mean, fuck these people. Hollywood is going down the toilet, and I think I will literally burst a fucking blood vessel if the US government bails these fucking idiots out. I hope Hollywood literally buries itself, and I will literally celebrate. Honestly, I hate these people so much.
Dance on their graves?
Yeah, I will dance on their grave. I'll take a piss on their grave, too, because that's what they... honestly, I don't even know if they deserve that. Perhaps, while urine isn't necessarily the best thing to drink when you're thirsting, it is sure one thing to drink, worst case scenario, but fuck these people.
Yeah.
I will say, to kind of add on to that, is like, because Kathy mentioned how they like to revise history. I think on some part too, they feel compelled to rewrite the story where they are the victim. They are these helpless people that have been manipulated and coerced, and they were oppressed by this white man and who had all this power, and they're just trying to kind of fit into that role where they need to know by doing this thing that they are the true victims in all this, and that they need us to know that too, as if they couldn't stop Harvey Weinstein because their careers were on the line. They threatened them, their livelihood, their reputation. I mean, like, it's just going to be kind of like, I mean, it's more than historical revisionism at this point. It's like, it's almost like some kind of electroshock therapy rewrites your memories on some level.
Yeah, all these people in Hollywood, you were his partner. I want you guys to know that you were Harvey Weinstein's friend. You're not a victim of Harvey Weinstein. You allowed him to have all this power, and in the very least, you didn't say anything. So you're not only are you guys are a bunch of cowards in Hollywood, but you might as well have joined in with him because, as far as I'm concerned, staying quiet all this time, you're just as bad.
Here's the thing with Harvey Weinstein that no one to this day wants to talk about, because we only want to talk about, oh, well, the young models that he promised a career to who didn't want to sleep with him. They're the real victims. That's their only focus on the story. No, I want to know the names of the actresses who did sleep with him and who did get award recognition, who did get major movie roles that paid them 8 figures per movie, who went along with it for many, many years. Because there's a lot of actresses that I can think of off the top of my head who definitely benefited from a very close relationship with Harvey Weinstein, if you know what I mean. But that's the part that they don't want to talk about, because that would mean that, well, that sells the idea that actresses sleep their way to the top and they don't get there on their own merit. It's like, yeah, that's Hollywood. It's been like that for decades. Now, I know you guys want to think that, oh, I went to, some NYU Academy Art School and I worked my way up to become the great actress that I was, and I won my golden statue. It's like, you probably fucked at least 3 or 4 producers to get where you are right now. You just don't want to cope with that reality. So,
Well, I don't know about that specifically. If how many women slept away. I mean, I hope Harvey Weinstein wasn't stripping Judi Dench for Shakespeare in Love, but
don't be
he,
surprised.
but Gwyneth Paltrow benefited from his career, and she says that he harassed her to the point where her then fiance Brad Pitt threatened to punch him or to knock him out or what have you. But there she is, tearfully thanking him when she wins the Oscar for Shakespeare in Love, and she knew. So anyone that worked with him post Shakespeare in Love would have she knew that that actress would have faced some type of harassment at least, and she would not she didn't take this whatever actress and say take her aside and say, hey, don't be alone with this man is dangerous, or this man went after me. No, she stood silently by. And of course you have that infamous moment where Meryl Streep was calling him God, and a lot of that's the thing, a lot of them knew what was going on or suspected as much, and they did nothing. And then you have the same thing also with was it Brian Singer, who
Mm-hmm.
was also having some sort of harem of young boys, and they knew about it, or they heard. And I think there were other men or young men who had actually spoken up at the time. And what happens? He ends up directing Bohemian Rhapsody. Of course, nobody mentioned him in when the movie won like 4 out of the 5 Oscars, or however many Oscars. Nobody thanked the director. I mean, the movie apparently did not have a director. So all of them knew what was going down. I'm sorry, just reading that. No, all of them knew what was going on, and they did nothing. And now here they are. They're going to make a movie where they're going to congratulate themselves. If they really wanted this, I want to see a movie where they talk about where that's focused on Matt Lauer and his long sexual harassment, where apparently he had like a buzzer or something. They did Roger Ailes. Why don't they tackle what was going on at NBC? That's just a
Rick,
sordid story as well.
it's just like the Keenan Thompson bit on SNL. The gif from SNL where Keenan Thompson's a game show host, and he's like, "You know why? You know why?"
Do tell, Mr.
All I'm gonna say is that the biopic of Jennifer Lawrence and Scarlett Johansson is gonna be lit, and let's just leave it there, because so Silver Linings Playbook. I'm pretty sure that was all on the up and up. That's
Last thing though, if you guys
Go ahead.
haven't seen the compilation of people thanking Harvey Weinstein at award shows, watch it sometime, because
yeah.
then they all knew about it, and it's like Holly. And I'm not defending it. I'm just saying it's a reality. Hollywood is the power center, meaning the rules that apply in regular society do not apply there. And so it's
Yep.
like if you go there, you better be real cynical and lacking in naivete, because it's like you will get screwed over so fast, your head will spin basically. So it's like you just have to understand that going in. And yeah, it's a completely corrupt place where people do each other
And
favors, and
somehow,
it's gross.
morally, it's only gotten worse. Think about that for a second.
So
Well, there's
she
probably a
said-
lot more
she
that's
said-
acceptable today than there was even like 10 years ago too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
But
the
there's-
degeneracy kind of is snowballing. So
Well, the entire lack of accountability is why Hollywood continues to get worse. I mean, you have these fucking assholes that want to give an award to this movie, in which thinks it empowers them to think that they did something when really they did nothing. And that's why Harvey Weinstein rose to power and had all of this power. You did nothing, and either you let it happen or you were directly in on it. And these people are actually so fucking bold as to try and make it seem as though they're heroes or for this shit. It's just like, you guys are so mentally fucking deranged. Like, this is why Hollywood just deserves to die.
It makes me think that the people who made this movie in an effort to say how brave and courageous they are to have a reckoning about what Harvey Weinstein did all these years, and I can say did because he was convicted. These are I guess these are the same people or the same mindset where you have now all of these politicians saying, no, we never asked for lockdowns of the schools. We never asked to have people arrested for going to the parks. No, that never happened. It was all a dream. No, you were never furloughed. No, we never told your kids that they couldn't go to the schools. No, Fauci had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with recommending people not go to schools or congregate. No, what are you talking about? That's not real. It's people who want to rewrite history, not take responsibility for what they did, and you have this with this movie. Again, we have not seen the movie. I cannot say what it has or does not have until we actually see it. But if they're trying to whitewash their history, it's going to take more than a Best Picture nomination to say that. It's going to take a lot more. There's going to be no one's going to believe them. They're going to be that GIF from Anchorman where he says, "I don't believe you." And that's going to be the reaction. What did I mispronounce it? No, GIF. It's GIF.
I think she was just calling you a boomer. That's all was happening.
No, it's
there,
GIF.
so.
It's G.
I'd say gift because it sounds like gift, and I think every meme that moves is a gift.
See,
That's
All right,
racist. You're criticizing the
moving on.
Mexican.
We're moving on
You're
now.
criticizing the Mexican. That's racist.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our closer. This should be a good one because I haven't even read these comments yet, but I heard the headline and I was like, this would be a good topic. James Cameron is slamming Hollywood for making weak characters, and he targets DC and Marvel specifically. So, like I said, I have not read this. We're all gonna read this together and get our genuine reactions here, but James Cameron, who, keep in mind, Avatar 2 is coming out in just a couple of weeks here, so keep that in mind. Slams Marvel and DC characters. They all act like they're in college. This should be good. James Cameron won't be heading to theaters anytime soon to catch the latest Marvel or DC movie. You mean he's not going to watch Ant-Man 3? The Titanic director, who's 68 years old, discussed the evolution of cinema in a new interview, noting how comic book characters lack depth. He says, when I look at these big, spectacular films, I'm looking at you, Marvel and DC. It doesn't matter how old the characters are, they all act like they're in college, Cameron said to the New York Times. They have relationships, but they really don't. The Avatar filmmaker went on to say they never hang up their spurs for their kids. He said the things that really ground us and give us power, love, and purpose, those characters don't experience that. And I think that's not the way to make movies. Cameron said his upcoming project, Avatar 2, The Way of Water, which comes out December the 2nd, which is a follow-up of the 2009 flick. Is there any more comments on here? Because I don't really care much about Avatar 2. I just wanted to hear what he was saying about the characters here. I guess he says here that, yeah, it looks like that was about it. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anything before we move on there. And he's pretty much just talking about the characters like in his own film, saying that Zoe and Sam are now parents 15 years later. In the first movie, Sam's character leaps off his off his flying creature and essentially changes the course of history as a result of this crazy, almost suicidal leap of fate that's going on about that movie. Like I said, we don't care about that movie. I wanted to talk about his comments here specifically regarding this movie. And it seems like what he's saying here is that, there's no real depth to the Marvel and DC characters because they don't really have any kind of like family or any kind of purpose. They're just there because they're popular from the comic books. Do you agree or disagree with his comments? I'll start with Mr. Rick here.
Well, two things. That's a case of the pot calling the kettle black. And well, I guess a broken clock is right twice a day. This, Avatar does not have deep and rich characters. All right, they were all very stock. You look at Trashtanic. Those were just horrible one-note characters, and it was Robert Altman who said that Titanic was the worst thing he had seen, or words to that effect.
I mean,
I never heard that before.
Can I give some pushback to this? Listen, for me, it's like these characters from Titanic are way more memorable than if the MCU's characters were just characters created on their own. They weren't from a comic book. The MCU characters would not be able to stand on their own unless they were connected to the comic books. That's just the reality of the situation. I think, what Cameron is saying, I think there is some truth to what he's saying, because at least he can make characters that do stand on their own 2 feet, whereas Marvel cannot.
A broken clock is right twice a day, but
I like to say even a blind squirrel finds a nut. So.
Yeah. But his character,
look,
I'm sorry, I disagree with you. I don't find Rose and Jack to be compelling. I mean, she was a slut.
But they're memorable, though.
And no, he's not. No, they're memorable because she wouldn't let him get. She wouldn't let him get on the
fight.
She let him get on the door, and she let him die.
Hell yeah!
The ship is the character in that movie, by the way.
First.
Yeah.
The ship is the character in that movie.
The
ship is way more memorable than any MCU
and
character.
By the way, the supporting actors in that movie are pretty good. Whether it's like Captain
because they're based on because some of them are based on real people.
Okay.
Wait, let's be real now. Cameron is way better than the mass majority of filth that you are forced to watch nowadays. Like
early Cameron, I could go with that. But
But you're gonna are you trying to say that Titanic is just as bad as the shit that we're fed today?
It's not.
Just as bad.
No, Cassie's right.
Well, I'll give you. I'll say this. Until the boat starts sinking, Trashtanic is garbage. Right? I will agree. But he does have a point when he talks about that these characters sound like they're in college. I go back to their version of Tony Stark Jr., who was always, "Oh, Mr. Stark, did you see that really old movie, Jurassic Park?" This is like, I didn't know that people recorded dinosaur roars. I mean, they made him out to be an absolute moron. But and all of these characters, they are forgettable, but they're not. I think I'm the one in red though. No, it's no, he's right up to a point. But Avatar, you mean give me the characters, their rich interior lives.
But
versus,
Pocahontas in space.
yeah, well, I called it Dancing with Na'vi.
Yeah.
Dancing with Na'vi.
But here's the thing. James Cameron's filmography goes back to what? Terminator, Aliens, True Lies. I mean, you could take all of these things and The Abyss. By the way, The Abyss, that's now I have not seen it since I was like 5 and I was bored to tears. But that's an investment by an artist, and I'll agree. James Cameron hasn't been good for a while because he's had his head up his ass with Avatar. However, that guy is capable of making a spectacle-driven movie. And I will say that. Marvel movies and DC movies, that's what I said about the Batman. They're teenagers running around Gotham City. So I buy what he's saying. He hasn't proven that he can do it in some time, though.
Yes, I mean that's pretty much what I would say. Early Cameron, yes, those are great characters, great films. I was not impressed with Avatar. I was not impressed with Trashtanic. I've yet to understand why people love that movie until the boat sinks, and she's a slut. So I'm
You
Rose is
really
a
do not
slut.
like Rose, do you? Jesus.
And I don't like Kate Winslet. I believe she thinks she's a
Oh,
grande
come on.
dame. I think she believes herself to be a grande dame of cinema. But it's one of the few points where was it Seth MacFarlane mocked her for baring her breasts so often in film, and I'm like, okay, I kind of see your point there. But be that as it may, no, Cameron is right up to a point, but he also has done this with his more recent films. So he doesn't have much to stand on. I mean, he does have some credibility, but not enough for me to ignore how bad the characters were in Avatar, how the bad most of the characters were in Trash Tanic. So I'm not. He's not the best witness. He's a good witness, but not the best witness to trash the MCU. And, and
Look, for
he's
me,
correct. He's correct up to a point, but not. He ought to look himself in the mirror.
like the thing is, look, you know, not everything Cameron has done is necessarily good. That's for sure. But the most recent thing I point to is not something he necessarily directed, but he wrote the screenplay and produced Alita Battle Angel, which to me is a better superhero movie. That came out like 2019. That's a better superhero movie than
Oh,
anything the MCU's produced in like 10 fucking years.
Oh, I've never seen it.
He actually, that movie proves that you can make a badass female fucking protagonist that I can actually, get behind, that isn't an insufferable cunt that I cannot stand looking at. Like that is a good movie that he's been behind, and that's more recent. And yeah, like I agree with what Cameron's saying.
I want to focus on specifically one thing they said, because this is really the crux of his own argument here. He says that they have relationships, but they really don't. They never hang up their spurs because of their kids. He says the things that really ground us, give us power, love, and purpose. These characters don't experience that, and that's not the way of making films. I agree with him on that perspective, but that also goes to like a deeper kind of moral argument of like he's essentially arguing that these characters don't really have any purpose because they don't really focus on having purpose in life, meaning, faith, things of that nature. Well, those are all elements that Hollywood is trying to eradicate out of Hollywood. So when you're trying to remove all of those things out of stories, out of films and television shows, then what exactly are you left with? You're just left with empty capes punching each other alive. That's essentially what Hollywood has become over the last 10 years or so. Would you agree with that point at least?
That's why
I would agree with
that's why
that.
they're child. Yeah, that's why they're still relating to childlike emotions here, where all of these grown men in, I'm assuming, their 30s and 40s are crying and cheering on these fictional characters who are still acting like they were in their well, the viewers are acting like they're still in their teens or 20s. They have not grown up, and all of these Marvel movies are coddling them because none of the characters in the Marvel movies have much of a life, and when they do, they stick them in things like was it when Star Lord was looking for his dad and he somehow had to fight him and he turned into Pac-Man for some inexplicable reason. These are the things that they are. These are the things that they are, that they're focusing on, just keeping the eternal child going. So yes, he's correct. I mean, a lot of these people. That's why you keep seeing people like Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas. These people in their 60s and 70s, and Bill Murray also in his 70s. They and Glenn Close also popping up in all of these. Why are they involved in all of this? They don't need to be. But other than yes, we're going to keep the childhood fantasies that you've had since, was it 2008, going. It's time to let it go. It's time to let it go.
I
Yeah.
think
Go
having
ahead.
kids, like, is the only person that I think that I know of that has kids. Gonna play the mom card tonight. So There is a lot to be said for like when you're like when you have children, you have a future, you know, and
Yeah.
a lot of the nostalgia marketing plays on the past, and the past does keep you infantile to a large degree because you're not willing. It's like the equivalency of consuming stuff versus creating stuff, and I think once you become a creator of something, even if it is like music or a video game or a movie or book, out even all the way up into a child, you have such a different perspective on things that it you just can't go back. It's the point of no return. You have a kid,
Yeah.
you know, and there's such a fullness to it that's so lovely and wholesome, and you don't even like it like hits you sometimes like out of nowhere all over again. I love it, frankly, but I understand that like when you start to live, you have to live for something greater than yourself, and that's something that won't necessarily sell tickets and it can be a really hard thing to like pack up your dreams and say I'm willing to put these aside for the sake of my child or my future, or and that's why I think a lot of people just don't necessarily embrace that. It's scary, and it is scary, but it's also very rewarding, and Cameron's right about that. So
Well, they kind of did have a little family life with Iron Man, because I Love You 3000, wasn't that supposed to just trigger all of us and just make us weep
well
uncontrollably?
but like it took him like he was probably like what I even said like when I saw the trailer for Endgame, I'm like, Mrs. Potts, really, you didn't marry her yet? And it was really really frustrating. I'm the kind of person that I was like, all right, video or like Iron Man 3, why is there no wedding? So
Yeah.
I mean, is it fucking ridiculous to say that Iron Man, like Tony Stark's the only character that isn't one dimensional in the entire MCU?
Well, he's like one of the few characters that actually had any kind of growth as a character in the entire MCU. And that was like over the course of like several movies where he started off as like just kind of the arrogant playboy who was like, yeah, I make weapons of war and I get rich off of them. I make my own shit. And then when he started to like understand like, the errors of his ways, that's when he actually started slowly changing like as a human being. Where you have a couple other characters who did that. I think you could like Captain America is a guy who's always like stuck to his principles throughout the course of like the films that he's done, which is why he usually has the better films in the movie. I think
He's still
Thor
one-dimensional, though.
is
Arguably.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to
Me
say
or
real
Rob?
quick.
Neither.
Sorry.
No.
No, I just wanted to say real quick. Like, look, I know that we're miles away from this, but like, and I know we'll probably never get there, but the movies from the 70s, I is what allowed me to really love cinema and fall in love with movies. And in so much of them, the endings are about disappointment, are about losing, are about learning from your terrible mistakes, and things are never going to be the same again because you made a really fucking dumb decision. I know that
Mhm.
I know that superhero movies can't really deal with that kind of stuff, but I would just love one that dealt with the disappointment and disillusionment of, without but in an artistic, meaningful way. You know what I mean? Like, there's this movie in the 70s called Shampoo, where Warren Beatty basically has sex all over LA, the whole movie. It's kind of a ridiculous like sex comedy, but he's like left alone watching the person he loves the most, which I know is like, how can a man whore love somebody? But watching
Yeah.
her like drive away, and it's like the most sad, heartbreaking thing. And it's like movies don't even do that anymore. Don't do this. It's funny and it's a good time, but then it actually like teaches you something, or it gives you something to take away from the movie. And again, I know that Marvel isn't interested in what I'm talking about right now, but I just wish one movie did that.
I can't even think of a movie that even had like a theme similar to that since
I know.
maybe the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans. Like that's
Yeah.
going back a while.
The
I mean, that's the
Crow.
only one I can think of. Well, there was lessons learned from the Crow. I'm not sure if there were any on screen, but there were definitely a few off screen that they learned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, literature in general just goes much deeper into things too. Like when I talk with people, like even my sister, we were having a conversation about, and she's like, "You know people so well," and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
But it's sometimes shocking to me how good I am at reading people and like keeping things in good perspectives for people. Like I'm good at calming people down, so. I think honestly, if I lived in San Francisco, they'd give me a little house next to the bridge, so stop all the people from jumping off. I think I'd be good at it. So, but it's true. Like literature does go much deeper, and I think in a superhero film, these are problems that not like no ordinary person would face anyway. I think it's hard to relate to that, even if your problems seem really really big. And I like that Cameron is trying to draw it down to the more day-to-day stuff, the more like building your life and not having an adventure type stuff maybe. I do think that it is kind of funny them weak characters, because I can't think of a movie that was desperately compelling that he's written or done or anything. So I will say I didn't know that about Alita Battle Angel though, so that's like, oh, that's impressive. But I actually thought more of the inspiration came from the manga, so I was like, okay.
No, because he's coming back. Wolverine is coming back, so.
Yay.
Oh my god.
I will say that too. That's another point I forgot to bring. We were talking about just how childish like people are, especially with these superhero movies. Remember when the Disney 20th Century Fox announcement was made that they were combining, Disney was buying the studio, and I saw so many tweets online. Rick, I'm pretty sure you remember it too when this happened, where all people could say was, "Oh my god, now we get to see Wolverine and the Hulk in a movie together, and they're going to be on the same screen." Like that was their only concept of this massive merger that was happening in front of it. It was like they were going to see two fake superheroes in a movie. It's several years from now. Keep in mind, the mergers happened, 5 years ago, and we still haven't even gotten the X-Men in the MCU yet, but now Disney has more power than they ever had before. So it's like, yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for your extreme child short-sightedness that they even have an even bigger market share than they had before, and you guys still haven't gotten your fucking X-Men movie, so go suck it. Any final movies? Any final thoughts before we wrap this one up? Well, I tell you what, I actually enjoyed this week's episode of the podcast. So I'm going to say this. Everyone who was not on the panel this week is banned from ever coming back to the show ever again. So you're just going to have these five. You're the only five that I'm allowing on the show for the future.
Oh, well, I was going to say, are there times where you didn't enjoy yourself?
No.
I want notes, Jacob.
Well, maybe when Your Generation's Gene Kelly popped up, maybe that was a tough moment.
All right, it's over. Wrap this one up.
Okay. So.
Thank you.
Jacob.
So exactly. Well, this is the part where. Yeah, well, at least you didn't claim to be Native American for 50 years. So let's go ahead and give everyone a chance to promote you guys' stuff. Let's go ahead and get the hell out of here. Mr. Rob, all the way from somewhere near Seattle, I assume, or Washington, whatever the case may be. Where can they find more of you?
Just go to my Twitter. I'm on there a lot, probably more than any human should be. And yeah, I'm watching a lot of horror movies this month, and I'm on a break for like a couple weeks or something because I work 4/10s next week. So, but yeah, I'll be around and I'll be watching a lot of movies. So check it out. I gotta get my ass in gear to write some movie reviews and do some videos. But yeah, check that out. It's coming down the pipe.
Yes, we have C.S. Johnson who asked me to shill her stuff. Let me see if she's here. She can share her own stuff. Are you there?
Here.
Okay, then. Well.
I just can't post it in the chat on YouTube. So.
Oh, do you have something that needs to be posted?
Yeah, I put it in the comments too.
Oh.
Do it.
Oh, you have a Kickstarter? Wow, why don't you tell me that beforehand?
Oh my god.
I'm still waiting for your money, by the way.
Oh yeah, right. I have to donate to your Kickstarter.
I supported it.
How much?
You supported me. So.
How much you looking for? $10.
No.
No.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, tell them that you got Kickstarter. Like anything else you got planned on?
Oh, okay. So I did get my video essay script for cultural reparations ready. So
Oh no.
I keep talking about it all the time because we talk about race and gender and sexuality as a personality swaps. So I officially got the definition up in the nice essay, and I get to trash Ready Player One while I talk about it. So I'm excited.
Good
So-
job.
Yeah. Half the people I know really love it, and half the people I know really hate it. I'm like, I hate it. So, no offense to the actors or the writers or whatever, but I mean, when you can just literally go in and like pull the plug on this guy's building, and you're sitting there trying to get in the VR game to beat him with all your avatars, it's really, really stupid. So, yeah. So sorry if I ruined it for anybody, but yes, give me money from a Kickstarter if you really just take the sludge pipe of Hollywood, read my stuff instead. Some of it's probably thought-provoking and infuriating, but the Starlight Chronicles is actually one of my favorite series. Probably still my favorite series, and talks about what we talked about here a little bit about growing up, about being a narcissist, and hopefully one day it'll get a really good movie adaptation, not written by James Gunn.
By the way, I just saw your little anime avatar and noticed that you have a cat in the avatar. So we need to do something about this cat epidemic that's going on around this circle of people because this is starting to get ridiculous now.
Buy a dog. You.
I have a dog and
I have two. My cat is outnumbered.
Well, to be fair, the cat is the only one that hasn't tried to kill itself yet. So let's go ahead and find people.
I put the cat in my avatar because I was thinking of monikers when I was like, so I could be the critical cat lady because I've been watching a lot of the critical drinker, and I was like, oh, I could do that.
Dude, yes.
So it was an artistic decision. And then I just thought it was cute. So
very cute. Yes. My best friend is obsessed with fat cats, and I'm trying to explain to her that if they're fat, they won't live long. So stop supporting cats being fat. And she just wants me to make Ziggy fat. And I'm just like, no. I actually feed him good food that isn't chock full of carbs. So it's a very small probability that he'll ever be fat. Don't make
my
your
cat
cat
is like
fat.
big bone. Like he has big paws and stuff. So I don't think it's what I feed him. It's genetic. It's part not mine.
Definitely. Yes, I don't know what this. See, you guys have this disdain for cats, but I have disdain for overweight cats because that's the problem. Okay, like you got to get into the niche of cat people because cats are good, just fat cats are not good, and I'm against people that are obsessed with the thing called chonks. Yes, it's a thing. You guys need to stop. But anyways, guys, yeah, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Cult Classic Cage. Right now I'm playing through the Modern Warfare campaign, Modern Warfare 2 campaign. It dropped last week, and it's a mixed bag. But if you guys wanna watch live and watch me get mad and frustrated live, you can catch me on YouTube. And yeah, who knows what the hell I'm doing? Everything I do is spur of the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, I have a thing against pit bulls, or as I like to call them, baby eaters. So yeah, I feel you on that one. Then, of course, last but not least, our good friend Rick's Texan Cafe. Where can they find more of you, Rick? Have you written some more stuff yet?
Actually, I did. I just published my Barbarian review, and I found I did not hate it as much as I thought I did when I first saw it. I still need to work through some other reviews like Black Adam, the 1956 Anastasia, trying to set up a schedule of things to watch, clear my DVR, clear the DVDs that I bought and have not seen, and will order some more. I hope I'm aiming to have the Paul Lynde Halloween special, which I will dedicate to Rob because I know how much he is looking forward to hearing me talk about Paul and just trying to catch up on reviews that I have written. I mean, I've taken my notes, but I have not actually gotten down to write. And just also looking forward to more films that are coming up, even the ones that you don't like, or I like Till and Tar. Uh, there's a lot of teas running around. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm surprised at how much free time I have now.
Yeah, now that baseball season's done and that the
Yeah,
World Series is over.
yeah, and I'm not watching the World Series. Although, like I said, I might watch a football game. I don't know what exactly I will watch, but I'm
Watch the
sure.
Jets crush the Patriots.
Oh, okay, I could do that, but I mean, depends. Depends. I'll talk to
Dude,
my bestie and see. He'll make me watch Packer game. So.
Oh no, the Packers
the
are gonna
Bill.
get destroyed by the Bills on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, that's gonna be an absolute massacre on Sunday night. They might score 50. Let's just put it that way.
Damn.
All right, then let's go ahead and wrap this one up by bringing up to you. By the way, I want to address this little comment here from Spencer that Pitbull haters have tiny dick energy. Yeah, you know what else they have? Children who are alive. So I'll just let that be.
I mean, at least the little dick works.
Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the channel. So tomorrow night, myself, Nerd Against TW, hopefully a couple other people will join us. We're going to be talking about the second greatest Nicktoon of all time, and it is Doug. Not the Disney Doug. We do not claim Disney Doug on this podcast whatsoever. We're talking about the good old-fashioned Nickelodeon Doug. I got a lot of good things to say about that show. We'll go in depth into that one. Then tomorrow night on the Black Pill stream, myself, Spencer, John, Josh are all going to be back for another episode. I'm pretty sure Ant-Man's going to get talked about. The James Gunn stuff's going to get talked about. Maybe some of James Cameron's comments will be talked about tomorrow. So that's all going on tomorrow. 2 streams back to back. The Doug stream, the Retro Wave review is going to be at 7 o'clock tomorrow. So it's going to be an earlier stream. So won't be at 9. It'll be at 7 tomorrow. Next Monday night, we're not going to have a movie review night because I'm going to be coming back from Orlando and I'm just going to take that day to recover. So I won't be doing any streams that night. But we will be back next Tuesday for the next episode of the Barroom Podcast. And then in 2 weeks on Monday, since there's not going to be a show on next Monday night, in 2 weeks, which is going to be exclusive on Twitch and on Twitter. So if you're not subscribed to me there, subscribe now. We're going to be watching the film Weird Science. We're bringing movie night back, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be our one little reprieve here since there's essentially no good movies coming out until Black Panther. And you can argue even then there's probably no good movies coming out. But we're going to have a good time watching that one on Monday night at it'll be about 9 o'clock. Let's say that again.
Why would we argue that?
Just saying, I'm trying to have some leeway. So.
Now, don't knock Weird Science. It's an Oscar nominee.
Believe it or not, it is. If you guys haven't look into it, it should be a fun night in a couple of weeks. But yeah, we need a break from bad movies. We got Black Adam. It was decent enough. I think we should just leave it at that for a while, for a few weeks, till we can all recover. So to all my guests who are here, Rob, Johnson, Rick, Cassie, thank you all for joining me. For everyone who came to the chat tonight, Alex versus Evil, Josh, Spencer, who was in the chat, Neo, our good friend, Duke Nukem, Trey, saw you, Dre, I saw you were in the chat earlier today, TW, who's with us tonight. A whole bunch of guys. If I missed you, I know Rob, the other Rob, who was with us earlier tonight. For anyone who I didn't shout out, I'm gonna shout you guys out later on. So we had a fun night. We had a good night, but it's time for everyone to go home and get the hell out of here. So let's go ahead and hit the outro. It's Spring Yard. We'll see you guys tomorrow for our good discussion about Doug. I'll see you guys next week. Good night. Goodbye. Oh, by the way, Orlando this weekend, the whole Geeks and Gamers meetup. I'm going to be there. So hopefully, if you guys are going to be there too, I see a couple of you guys out there. So until
Alex
then,
vs. Evil is going to be there. So you might see
I
him.
heard that last night. So hopefully we get to meet up this weekend. So until then, I will see you guys later. Good night.
Night.